Part 23. Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 221. January 17th. Number 13, Manor Street, West District, London. Wayne stopped the car, opened the door with the key and walked to the basement of the villa. 3 days have passed since the attack on Landau Manor. In these 3 days, Wayne has not seen any member of the Landau family. Veronica deliberately avoided it. The dragon-blooded girl was too thin-skinned. Thinking back to the kiss that night, she was shy and annoyed. She didn't want to see the disgusting face of social trash. Wayne expressed his understanding. The first kiss of youth is always unforgettable. He has experienced it many times and has experience. Veronica's reaction is normal and it will be fine in 2 days. Sci-fi didn't deliberately avoid it. She was simply busy with work. In addition to the daily administration of the church, there is also the selection of saints. The investigator sent by the headquarters will soon arrive in London. She is asking about the identity of the investigator through her connections. Austin avoided it and pretended to be busy at work every day. What does it mean? Wayne knows it in his heart. Pressure. The psychological tactics commonly used at the negotiation table are like boiling a frog in warm water. The party with the upper hand likes to use this method to gain more benefits through pressure. 3 days later, Wayne received an invitation letter from Megan. Aston asked him to meet in the air raid shelter in the basement of the villa at number 13, Long Street, Manor. Wayne lived in this manor villa for a while. At that time, he was issued a hunting order by the big man because he seduced the daughter of a big man, and he had to go to other places to avoid the limelight. He met Sci-fi on the train and became his student. After returning to London, Sci-fi arranged for him to stay temporarily in this manor villa. At that time, Wayne met Yulia through Aubyn's introduction, pulled out the Shadow Nightmare, and the Death Knight officially landed in London. What does Aston mean by asking Wayne to meet here? It goes without saying. Wayne has made psychological preparations for a showdown. To be fair, Aston has given him a lot of face and didn't make it public even though he knew he was a Death Knight. Maybe it's because of the status of the heir, the family's dirty laundry cannot be made public, or maybe Old Deng wants to master the secret alone, just like the Devil's Alliance, to manipulate the Death Knight for his own use behind the scenes. But Wayne can't do anything to him. His wife is Sif and his daughter is Veronica. These 2 women are of great significance to Wayne. E=O. Life is not easy, handsome guy sighs. Wayne can imagine how difficult his future life will be with the corporate culture of Windsor that uses everything it can, plus the identity of Old London, the Union Jack. The wall light in the basement has been turned on. Wayne looked at his watch. There is still half an hour before the agreed time. With Aston's stinky frame, it is impossible for him to arrive early. But people are already here. Damn social garbage, are you so impatient? Wayne cursed in his heart, walked to the end of the air raid shelter with heavy steps, and passed through the gate into the sewer. Sewer? Old Deng has made it clear. Wayne had no more luck at this moment. He believed deeply in Austin's brain. When the other party wrote down Death Knight, the dust settled and everything was over. Wayne was extremely upset. He shouldn't have kicked that knight. He carried out the Death Knight's taciturn and cold personality. Even though Austin was smart, he couldn't see any clues. Forget it, forget it. His daughter has been given to me. It doesn't matter if I tell him. Wayne walked through the spacious flood control channel. After a few steps, he saw 2 figures in front of him. Austin was playing with ancient silver coins, and Megan was holding a flashlight. The light was dim, and it hit Austin's face at a 45-degree angle. Half of his face was hidden in the darkness, and his expression was extremely heavy. With the dark background of the flood control channel, he was like a demon king standing in the dark, which made Wayne feel powerless. It must be admitted that Austin's brain was indeed better than his. "You're here." "Yes, I'm here." "You don't have to come." "I have to come." X2. The atmosphere fell into silence. Austin looked at Wayne with a complicated look. He didn't know where he had been exposed and how long he had been exposed. He had obviously avoided his family and never revealed anything in front of Wayne, but Wayne still guessed it. Maybe Wayne knew it a long time ago, and he kept it in his heart for the sake of this family. Until the mysterious man attacked the Landau Manor, his performance was too poor, putting his wife and daughter in crisis. Wayne couldn't bear it anymore and wrote The Dark Knight on the paper. Austin didn't want to admit it, but he had to admit that Wayne's mind was indeed above his. Austin could still think that Wayne could pretend to know nothing for the sake of this family, but after this time, Wayne would use this as a threat to control the Landau family by controlling his secrets. "Wayne, Austin, you don't want the teacher and Veronica to know that you are the Dark Knight, right?" Wayne: "Yes, I was playing with women outside, so what? If you dare to tell Veronica, I will expose your identity as the Dark Knight." Wayne: "Little AO, Veronica knows that I have another woman outside, please help me persuade her and say that I have no choice but to do it for the family." Wayne: "Who do you think you are? Remember, I am the head of the family." In the past 3 days, whenever he thought of this scene, Austin gritted his teeth and almost broke his back teeth with hatred. But he could not do anything to Wayne. Wayne was his wife's student, the person his daughter liked, and also the heir he chose himself. Fortunately, it was not a big problem. He was the Dark Knight, and so was Wayne. As long as he turns Wayne into the Dark Knight, and they both have the same secret, he won't have to worry about it, and he won't be humiliated by Wayne. However, this will take a long time, and during this period, he has to be patient. "Healy, Veronica, you have a good eye." Austin can only persuade himself to think positively. The heir is smarter than him, and the future of the Landau family is promising. It's nothing for him to be wronged. X2. The two said nothing. People had to bow their heads under the eaves. While keeping restraint, they looked at each other with more and more unkind eyes. In the dead silent passage, any subtle sound would become extremely clear, so that 2 grinding sounds rang at the same time. "Why should I bow my head to such a bastard? Can I kill him?" X2. Teacher/Healy, Veronica, you will forgive me, right? X2. What, can't? X2. Forget it. X2. E=O, X2. Life is not easy, garbage size. Austin, don't keep silent. I know what you are thinking. I tell you, that's impossible. Wayne gritted his teeth. He knew it was useless. Austin's heart had long been black, but he had to make his position clear. "Since you know what I am thinking, then you should know that it is impossible." Austin also gritted his teeth. If it were not for his wife and children, he would definitely try every means to stuff Wayne into a cement barrel to fill the river. To be honest, if it were not for the teacher and Veronica, you. Wayne turned his head and said hatefully halfway through his words, "I really feel sorry for them. You are not worthy of them, and Megan, you are not worthy of any of them." Megan. It's okay. She has always been voluntary and she can get through it by enduring. If she has to say that she can't bear it anymore, it's probably because there is another social garbage in the family, and she is annoyed like looking in the mirror every day. Wayne's words hit Austin's sore spot. His wife and children are his biggest weaknesses. Wayne's control of them is equivalent to controlling him. He really has no way to deal with it. The two sighed repeatedly, looking forward to the future with worry. The future was like the sewer around them, damp and dark, without light, and without any hope. "Remember, I came here today for the teacher and Veronica. I don't want to destroy this family," Wayne emphasized. "I understand, I will say the same thing to you. I'm not afraid of you, but I'm afraid of their sadness, Austin said at the same time. Bah, that's a nice thing to say, X2. The two spit at the same time. No matter what, they still want to control him through secrets, pretending to be for the family. X2. Austin, Megan won't leave. No, she knows everything. Asshole, you shouldn't tell her this secret. Hearing Austin's warning, Wayne felt that the atmosphere was extremely depressing. He couldn't bear it anymore and turned around to hammer the wall, while reaching out to insert his hand into the void. He didn't have no room for a comeback. He put on the vest of the Death Knight, forced Austin to reveal his trump card, and forcibly exchanged secrets for secrets. Compared with the Death Knight, perhaps, Austin's secret is not worth mentioning, but he will feel better. Austin's patience has reached its limit. Every word of Wayne is like a knife stabbing his chest, and every word is showing off his superior IQ. He put the ancient silver coin in Megan's hand, no longer suppressing the rolling power in his body, and wanted to face Wayne as the Dark Knight. Austin firmly believed that he was not without any room for a comeback. After transforming, he forced Wayne to reveal his trump card and forcibly exchanged secrets for secrets. Compared with the Dark Knight, perhaps Wayne's secret is not worth mentioning, but he will feel better, and let Wayne know that it is not so easy to control him. Death is everywhere, the shadow nightmare is unsheathed, and a ray of cold light reflects Wayne's pale skull head. The gray vortex dissipated, the black armor covered the torso and limbs, the tattered cloak slipped from the shoulders, and the ruby at the end of the knight's hilt bloomed with a scarlet halo. The darkness boiled, twilight despair was unsheathed, and the surging darkness flowed out from Austin's eyes, gradually covering his whole body. The black vortex dissipated, the black cloak covered the whole body armor, the black iron mask covered the face, and a pair of scarlet eyes slowly opened on the visor. Death Knight? Dark Knight? In an instant, two powerful auras rushed and collided in the sewer. Megan, Sigma, Degree. Who is it? Where is the young master? Why is there a Death Knight here? Who am I? Where am I? What happened? X3. The air of death was stiff, the wind of darkness solidified, and the atmosphere fell into silence again. Bang! The two knight swords fell to the ground at the same time, and the two knights hurriedly picked up the swords. Wayne pointed the sword at Austin and spoke elegantly and casually, Who are you? How can you be a Death Knight? Austin asked in a trembling voice. You don't know who I am, X2. You didn't guess, impossible, you are so smart, how could you not guess, X2? You really didn't guess, X2. X2. Austin was furious, his cape was shaking with anger, he overestimated Wayne's IQ, he was just a fool, pretending to scare him. Wayne was also furious, his head was smoking, the white light in his eyes was jumping violently, he hated Austin for pretending, and he also hated himself for overestimating Austin's intelligence, and he was always fighting wits and courage with the air. Yes, the note did not reveal his identity. It was nothing. It was just something that GBA wrote randomly. Haha, I never thought that the husband of the High Priest of the Church of Nature would be the Dark Knight. Wayne gritted his teeth, that's great. I'll report you to the church and ask the teacher to expel you from the Landau family. I didn't expect that the student of the High Priest of the Church of Nature would be the Death Knight. Austin took off his mask, and black light surged in his eyes. I will expel you from the Landau family now, so that 11 Faye will not know the truth and have to kill her for the sake of justice. It's almost the same as killing you. You are the executioner. You have almost killed all the forces of the church in London. Wayne was extremely angry. The accident that could have been avoided was exposed because of thinking too much. He took a step back and became more and more angry. He clenched the shadow nightmare and swung it hard. The portal opened, Yulia stepped out, and the thick fog poured into the flood control channel from behind, turning into the image of Aubin's evil dog. A dog and a horse bared their teeth. Aubin, Yulia, kill him. Across the street, Austin saw Wayne letting the dog bite people, and also waved the Twilight Despair in his hand. The effect was average, nothing happened. Austin was very angry with himself. He thought too much and exposed the secret. He was somewhat insane. He suddenly remembered that he had no mount, and waved his hand and shouted, "Megan, come on." Megan stood up reluctantly, raised her hand to cover her face, and looked to the side. "It's so embarrassing, is it too late to leave this house now?" Having said that, Megan was still shocked and a little curious. Wayne was actually a Death Knight. It was too unexpected. It's not impossible, just say. It's too exaggerated. The current head of the Landau family is the Dark Knight, and the next head is the Death Knight. There is no normal one. Can this family still be good? Also, with such a huge city of London and millions of people gathered there, how could the Landau family have the merit to gather two knights chosen by God? Is it because of that lucky silver death coin? Because Megan was unwilling to participate in the battle, the momentum of Austin's side was obviously weakened by 3 points, unlike Wayne's side, where the left and right guards just barked. Woof 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 x2. Maybe it was taught by Aubin, Yulia can bark like a dog. Megan. Losing the battle but not the battle, being beaten by Wayne made Austin furious, and asked Megan to transform into a dragon immediately. Megan hesitated and looked aside. "Master, let's forget it, he is Master Wayne after all, and, he is pretty good, you all know the opponent's weaknesses, otherwise don't fight, everyone sit down and talk." "How can I sit down and talk properly?" X2. "Originally, I wouldn't be exposed, it's all because of this kid pretending to be a ghost." X2. "Megan, ignore him, he is just a dirty Dark Knight. I want to pet my cat." "I will go home and bring Monica here," Wayne shouted. "What a dirty Dark Knight, what a mouth that confuses right and wrong." "Will the reputation of the Death Knight be improved?" Austin exclaimed. "That is Paris's Death Knight. He is a butcher, I am not. I am a good person and have never done a bad thing." "Haha, who knows?" While talking, Aubin and Yulia felt something was wrong. They stopped barking and looked for ants on the ground. The interpersonal relationship in this game is a bit complicated. They have to sort it out first. Yulia, who is the black guy on the opposite side? Austin Landau. "What, the Master's father is actually a Dark Knight?" "Well, I heard it for the first time. It's scary. It's scary." A dog and a horse communicated with each other, and Wayne and Austin fell into a self-destructive stage. They are all strong-minded people. If they are too strong, they will break easily, and they will be particularly fragile. Their glass hearts cannot accept such a ridiculous failure, and they start to curse each other. Each of them uses what they have learned in their lives, which is very dirty. Megan was very embarrassed, and silently stepped back a few steps, hiding in the darkness. She could see that the two social scum were tied by a mother and daughter, and at most they could talk nonsense, but they couldn't fight. According to this idea, Longxio's vision is too good. Either he doesn't pick, or he picks the best. The winning rate is 100%, and he has never failed so far. Veronica won in one hand, and Sci-fi won in 2 hands. Their luck is really unmatched. If they were not members of the Church of Nature, it would be perfect. The camera turned to the living room. Megan put down the black tea, stood aside with a plate with an expressionless face, and was just in the middle of the 2 generations of social scum, indicating that she would not help anyone. The 2 social scums untransformed and sat on the sofa, looking at each other. Their eyes were fierce and dazed, which was somewhat incredible. Austin took the lead and said angrily, "Why, with your brain, you should be able to guess that you are not exposed. Why do you admit it? Why don't you try it again?" "Because it's you, I thought I was exposed." Wayne thought so in his heart, unwilling to praise Austin in person, and was also indignant. What about you? You obviously never met me as the Dark Knight. That time doesn't count. You hid so well, you can try it again. Because it's you. Austin didn't want to praise Wayne, picked up the black tea and sipped it, calming down his extremely difficult face. Wayne saw Austin drinking tea, unwilling to admit defeat, picked up the teacup and drank it all in one gulp. He's fine. You're so slow even when drinking tea, you deserve to be played around by me. Heh, childish. At this moment, the two people's dislike for each other reached its peak. The reason was simple. The Landau family should not have a dark/death knight, and they were very unfriendly to Sci-fi and Veronica. You are obviously a Dark Knight, but you concealed your identity and married your teacher. You deserve to die. You are obviously a Death Knight, but you concealed your identity and became Sci-fi's student, and you also lied to Veronica. You deserve to die even more. I was not a Dark Knight at that time. I was not a Death Knight at that time. X2. Let me ask first, X2. X2. How about I ask first, otherwise the two of you will be stuck in a stalemate. Megan raised her hand weakly. As a referee, she felt that she was the most qualified. In addition, standing on the sidelines and watching the show, the scene in front of me was too interesting. No, you are Austin's lover, you must be on his side. Wayne refused and glared at Austin fiercely. Let me ask you first, Austin, if you still care about this family, even a little bit, don't reject me. Austin snorted coldly and said nothing, which was considered as tacit agreement. Tell me, why are you the Dark Knight? Is the Dark Goddess blind? What is so good about you? Just because you are black-hearted? The goddess didn't choose me, I chose the goddess. Wayne frowned. This sounded, how come it was the same as his? That year. Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 222. That year, my relationship with Sci-fi was in crisis. Because of her faith, she left London and found a job in Paris. Austin fell into memories. Isn't it because you messed around outside that the teacher was angry and ran away from home? Wayne said sarcastically. Do you still want to hear it? As a member of the Tulip family, the education I have been exposed to since childhood has made me particularly repulsive to the church. Faith makes people firm, religion makes people ignorant, and believers are all crazy. Austin expressed his contempt for faith without mercy, and then said, but they have the strongest power in the God-chosen continent, magic, and only magic can defeat magic. In order to save Sci-fi, I must gain more powerful power through faith. Here Austin concealed something, such as life constitution. Sci-fi has dragon blood, and Austin is just an ordinary silver mage with average magic talent. If nothing unexpected happens, he will never be able to cultivate gold in this life. During the years of dating Sci-fi and getting married, his weak body was devastated. In order to make his wife happy and to stand up and speak loudly, he worked hard to climb up, breaking the monopoly again and again, and became a senior official in the Ministry of Magic with his shrewd mind. Then, through the generous benefits of the senior officials, that is, to settle accounts, he plundered magic props to strengthen himself. It cannot be said that there is no effect, but it can be said that it is the same with or without. Facing the dragon blood, he still has no power to resist. Others are obstacles before marriage and saviors after marriage. He is different. Before and after marriage, relatives are saviors. The good news is that magic props are not completely useless. With Austin's persistent addition, his ability to withstand attacks is getting better and better. The most fundamental contradiction between Sci-fi and me is that she is a firm disciple of the goddess of nature, and I am a free wizard with no faith. Austin stopped talking halfway. He once had a dream to eradicate all faiths on the chosen continent. The first target of eradication is the Church of Nature. As a capitalist, he knows too well that the so-called faith is no different from his sustainable harvesting of leeks. Capitalist, if you don't work hard, how can I buy a new car, a new house, and will I change my boss's wife next year? God, if you don't work hard, how can I dominate the world and give you infinite glory? So, I was targeted by the darkness. To be precise, I found the inheritance of darkness in a ruin. Austin frowned. The inheritance of the Dark Knight is a very terrible power. I was ecstatic at the time, and I was cursed by the darkness. The inheritance of the night should not belong to me. I took this power out of the ruins and gave it to the real God-chosen knight. The goddess will give me a certain reward later, but I forced Twilight Despair to stay with me, and the curse of darkness began to take effect. Austin recounted his past memories and omitted a large section again. The dark goddess saw through Austin's inner desires and praised his dream of eradicating all beliefs, so she invited him to participate in a small game. The dark game. Twilight Despair brought eternal pain to Austin, torturing his body and mind. At the same time, this sword gave Austin the ability of the Dark Knight. The more pain Austin endured and the more pain he understood, the stronger the Dark Knight's power became. And during this period, he could not remove the Dark Knight's transformation. Only by giving up the Twilight Despair and finding the real God-chosen knight can the curse be lifted. Austin thought he could survive, but he didn't. Unlike 11-Phase Loving Fist, the pain of darkness was not something he could bear at all, and it almost drove him crazy. I can't bear the curse of darkness, and I don't want to give up this power, so I have to find another belief to suppress the darkness. Austin spread his hands and looked at the ancient silver coin and said, I found death and got a lucky coin. Aren't death and darkness allies? Why would they help you, and your dark curse? As far as I know, there is no curse on the knight. Wayne was skeptical. His Death Knight vest was not legitimate, and he had no experience and no right to speak. Austin did not reply, and continued, my trading partner is not the goddess of death, but one of the agents of death, the observer, the doom spider Grug. He is the subordinate god of death, the embodiment of doom, and can control the illusory luck. The so-called Landau is actually gambling. Although Austin's industry has never involved casinos, looking back at his first half of life, every major turning point is gambling. I made a deal with Grug, and he put luck on the ancient silver coin, so that I can get good luck while suppressing the curse of darkness, so I must always carry the silver coin, Austin said. Then how can you roll in bed, and can only dribble with, and Megan with one hand? Wayne opened his mouth to complain, but after thinking about it, it was really inappropriate, so he turned and said, so the ancient silver coin you gave me that night was fake, and you have two ancient silver coins. That one is Orb's ancient silver coin, and my ancient silver coin was with Megan at the time. I was worried that the Death Knight would take the ancient silver coin, so I made adjustments. Austin did not hide this plot. Wayne nodded, no wonder you kept touching Megan's butt, it turns out the ancient silver coin is in her trouser pocket. Megan. I didn't keep touching it, I just touched it for a while. What will happen if the ancient silver coin is taken away by the Death Knight? Wayne coveted the ancient silver coin to adjust the lucky buff, and said, let's try it out. You are so lucky. There happens to be a Death Knight here. Austin withdrew his hand, held the ancient silver coin tightly, and rejected Wayne's ridiculous proposal. If the ancient silver coin changed in the process of contacting the Death Knight, he would have a lot of fun. Death and darkness are not harmonious. Gru is very happy to suppress a Dark Knight. The real Dark Knight cannot rise. The dark forces on the chosen continent are always weaker than death. I have to obey Gru's orders because of the deal. Austin looked at Wayne. The order to destroy the Church of Nature did not come from the Dark Goddess, but from Gru. In other words, Sci-fi's enemy has always been you, the Death Knight. Austin passed the buck. Wayne did not take it, and sneered, who knows, go and tell the teacher and see if she believes it. Austin's face was dark. How could he say that since Sci-fi came back, he has never transformed into a Dark Knight again? Well, there was one time, but it was because he was worried about his wife's safety. The pretty woman went to the cemetery to meet the Death Knight at night. If the Death Knight had a seizure, someone had to step forward to save the beauty. So, the Dark Knight showed up that night, declared London's dominance, and warned the Death Knight not to be presumptuous. Afterwards, he secretly spied on her with the same thinking as SPHY, and provoked two knights at the same time, almost scaring Austin away. Halfway through his rush, he found someone pretending to be SPHY, trying to kill someone with a borrowed knife, and turned away without interest. Now that I think about it, let alone the SPHY, that night was fake. Even if it was real, she was protected by two knights, so she was too safe. It's just that the scene is a bit ugly. The two knights don't know each other's identities. They are likely to fight to the death. No matter who laughs last, they have no face to meet SPHY. Austin, Madam, I killed your student. Wayne, Teacher, I killed your husband. Add Veronica, this family will really fall apart. My situation is like this. Now it's your turn. Why did you become the Death Knight? Austin asked impatiently. Megan also set her sights on Wayne. She has followed Austin for many years and knows him inside out. Austin has almost no secrets in front of her. For example, when Austin first transformed into the Dark Knight, in order to hide his identity and resume the operation of Playboy, he was obsessed with beauty every day and even didn't see his daughter. It was all her secret operation, hypnotizing the minds of the socialites and reshaping the image of a playboy living under the crotch. On the contrary, the next social trash knows very little about his experience. Personality and other things are very familiar, and you can see the same every day. Curious.jpg. It's a long story for me. It started on March 13 last year. That night, Veronica came to my detective agency and I fell in love with her at first sight. Wayne recalled the past, that was where the dream began. X2. Megan hesitated slightly. As far as she knew, Austin and Healy were not in love at first sight. When they first met, Healy didn't fancy the playboy at all, and she was particularly disgusted. Austin was shameless and pursued him relentlessly, insisting on being shameless to trick Healy back home. Veronica was once Healy, and Wayne was once Austin, so Wayne was lying. There was no love at first sight when they first met, only social scum was greedy for the body of the dragon blood girl. Megan nodded repeatedly. The case was solved, and respecting history is like this. Austin rolled his eyes and said rudely, "My daughter is not blind, she won't fancy you, it's almost like she was fooled by you." "You may not believe it, I fooled her with a diary." Wayne snorted coldly, "Whatever you say, Veronica and I kissed just 2 days ago. You know her. Kissing is equivalent to getting married and having children." "Austin, dis. What are you doing? Are you going to get mad? Do you want to listen to my story?" Wayne snorted twice. He was not afraid of Austin before, but now he is even less panicked. A Death Knight and a Dark Knight are not good guys. Who is afraid of who? Austin was very angry and played with the ancient silver coin fiercely. "You're smart, so I'll continue. The goddess didn't choose me, but I stole Shadow Nightmare." Wayne glanced at Austin, and vowed to beat him no matter what. Paris has a Death Knight, or more precisely, a headless infantryman. His head was taken away by the Devil's Alliance, and he was out of control. In order to avoid making a big mistake, he sent his warhorse and sword to London. I just happened to pass by, and saw that Shadow Nightmare looked okay and matched my temperament, so I pulled out the sword and became a Death Knight. Wayne sneered, "With your rubbish talent, you forcibly detained Twilight Despair, and begged to be a Dark Knight. Unlike a Death Knight, my magic talent is too good." The shadow nightmare licked me desperately and I couldn't get rid of it. I felt sorry for it and became a death knight reluctantly. Also, unlike some garbage, I don't have any curse on me. I can transform when I want and remove it when I want. It doesn't hurt at all. Austin was disgusted and taunted back decisively, everyone can brag. You are a death knight, of course you can say whatever you want. If you don't believe it, take out Twilight Despair and make a bet. I will transform into a dark knight on the spot to show you. Okay, let's bet. Austin spoke quickly, fearing that Wayne would regret it if he was a step slower. To be honest, he held the lucky silver coin in his hand, and betting with him was tantamount to humiliating himself. Master, otherwise. Megan wanted to advise that a mirror cannot reflect two faces. They are the same type of trash. There is no need to be angry with each other. They should be more mature. Don't interrupt. Today I want to see how strong his talent is. Austin refused. The more he looked at Wayne, the more annoying he was. Today he reached the peak and sneered, "What is the bet and how do you bet?" I became the Dark Knight. In the future, I will have an affair with other women outside. You must keep it a secret for me and say good things about me in front of the teacher and Veronica. Wayne's map was ridiculously short. He saw the dagger as soon as he opened it. He smeared honey on the dagger and seduced Austin. On the contrary, if I fail, you will be my father in the future. I will do whatever you say. The power of the Death Knight will also belong to you. I will never regret it. X2. The bet was too fierce. Wayne was almost bet on everything. Austin hesitated when he heard this. Looking in the mirror, he was not sure that he would not go all in, so. No matter what, the temptation was too great and Austin could not find a reason to refuse. Besides, since he is already a Death Knight, how can he seamlessly transition to a Dark Knight? It doesn't make sense. If the job transfer is successful, it is not the two Night Swords that will lick Wayne, but the two goddesses of death and darkness behind him. Two high-ranking goddesses, will they even lose their face for a piece of social trash? Impossible, absolutely impossible. He, Austin, suffered a lot in order to get the power of the Dark Knight. It is impossible for Wayne to be the Dark Goddess. She put down her high-ranking attitude and actively catered to him. This is a sure thing. Okay, the bet is established. Austin said firmly. He would not be polite to his son who came to the door. I don't believe you, you sign a document, X2. The two spoke at the same time, and then looked at Megan at the same time. Megan, what are you doing? Go get a pen and paper. Megan was numb, and she wanted to record the ugly appearance of the two and show it to Sci-fi and Veronica when she returned. Look at what kind of men you chose, a Dark Knight and a Death Knight, none of them are good. It's a pity that it can't be recorded. After a moment, Megan wrote down the receipt. In order to ensure that the receipt could be shown to Healy and Veronica at any time, they deleted their identities and wrote 2 copies of the receipt according to the instructions of the two social scums. Wayne and Austin signed their names one after another. The 2 receipts were temporarily kept by Megan and returned to the winning party after the bet ended. Austin put down the ancient silver coin, endured the pain and summoned Twilight Despair from the void. With a pale smile, he placed the great sword in front of Wayne. It's time for you to perform, genius. Wayne observed closely. Twilight Despair was completely black, and the Shadow Nightmare with a white blade was just 2 extremes. Hurry up, ha ha ha, I'm enduring pain. You have been laughing all the time and never stopped. Laugh, while you still have time to laugh now, you will cry later. Wayne narrowed his eyes slightly, merged with the Book of Greed, and in the painful laughter of Austin, he grasped the hilt of Twilight Despair and raised the symbol of the Dark Knight. Ouch! Wayne's eyes bloomed dark, and the light of darkness spread to his whole body along the Twilight Despair. The black light turned into a dark armor, swallowing all the light on Wayne's body, and the power was rendered, dyeing all his magic black. In an instant, the small eyeball representing darkness on the cover of the Book of Greed suddenly opened, catching up, surpassing nature, leaving the moonlight and the sun far behind, only a few steps away from death. In the living room, the black light converged. Wayne turned into the dark night, holding the twilight despair, and speaking in a low voice as if he had throat cancer. I am. Ahem, how about it, Austin? Geniuses are different from mortals, and the power of the Dark Knight belongs to me. X2. Megan opened her mouth wide, looking at the Death Knight in horror as she became the Dark Knight. She was so shocked that she forgot to breathe. She knew that Wayne was a genius, and his native bloodline had infinite possibilities, but it was too incredible that the faith in the gods could still extend his talent infinitely. Is this guy the illegitimate son of the goddess? Born with death and darkness? Austin was dumbfounded, his Adam's apple throbbing up and down, like a bolt from the blue, leaving his entire heart blank. The smile was gone, and Austin's expression was unprecedentedly confused. He had no faith, and at this moment, he was ruthlessly betrayed by his faith. Suddenly, he found that the curse disappeared, the pain left him, and he relaxed all over. He no longer needed to use the ancient silver coin to suppress the power of darkness. Austin was extremely panicked. He could endure the pain, but he must not lose his strength. He tried to wave to twilight despair and save the power of the Dark Knight. Like a drowning fish, he struggled repeatedly and tried various things. The effect was average. Wayne looked at this scene, his mouth curled up slightly, and he took the initiative to disperse the power of the Dark Knight, and then transformed again. Hey, I'm back again, it doesn't hurt at all, there is no curse at all. Wayne was full of pride, and asked Austin, are you angry? Angry with Austin is not the purpose. Well, angry with Austin is the purpose. Wayne did an experiment by the way, and concluded that Austin did not lie to him. The headless horseman in Paris can knock him out of the Death Knight state across the ocean with just a ray of thought, and prevent him from summoning shadow nightmares. Austin couldn't do it. Even if he was close at hand, he couldn't take back the twilight despair, which proved that he was not the Dark Knight appointed by the Dark Goddess. The main reason why Austin can transform is that this guy is so good at coaxing women that the Dark Goddess gave him a chance to please the gods. That is, curses, painful little games. Wayne put twilight in Austin's hands, and despite the latter's repeated concave shapes, he was still unable to transform into the Dark Knight. It wasn't until Wayne unlocked the transformation that Austin got his wish, enjoying the joy of power in pain. Ja. Wayne smiled heartily, took the 2 slips from Megan's stiff hands, tore up his own, leaving the slip signed by Austin. Once you've stabilized, let's go out and cause chaos. On the other side, after Austin transformed into the Dark Knight, Wayne was unable to sense the twilight desperation. Neither of them was the goddess of darkness's choice. If one transformed, the other could not transform. Wayne didn't say anything, with a proud look of you can change only if I ask you to change, and held Austin tightly. So cool. Wayne sniffed the sweet air and felt that his life had reached its peak at this moment. His spiritual satisfaction was above all else, and he was happier than being with Philomena. Ja. One of them couldn't hold it back and laughed heartily again. At the same time, he took out the Shadow Nightmare and transformed into a Death Knight, performing a repeated horizontal jump for Austin. Why? Austin cancelled the transformation, and his 3 views were ravaged. He couldn't figure out what happened. He swallowed and said in a trembling voice, why does the goddess favor you so much and allow you to have the identity of 2 knights at the same time? People's physiques cannot be generalized. I am unique. You won't understand the matter of the original bloodline. After all, you are just an ordinary silver mage. Wayne was condescending and patted Austin on the shoulder, work hard and try to retire early. Veronica and I still count on you to take care of the children." Saying that, he laughed up to the sky and went out. "I'm so happy today, I want to hold Veronica and kiss her all night long." He had just taken 2 steps when the sound of breaking through the air came from behind him. Wayne dodged sideways and avoided Austin's flying kick. "Shameless, I knew you were going to make a sneak attack. Asshole, you owe me this kick. The Death Knight kicked me, what are you doing to me? Are you bullying an honest person? Megan. This home is dark now, and in the future it will be dark mixed with death, and there will be no future." She missed He and Veronica. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 223. That night. Landau Manor, Restaurant. After 3 days, the members of the Landau family gathered again. Austin didn't want to attend, and Veronica was not very willing, but since Healy asked them to, they couldn't refuse, so they had to come anyway. Wayne, W. Veronica, why are you blushing? You have no shame. Austin, I gave you face, didn't I? Wayne blushed, killing the 2 glass hearts. The father and daughter lowered their heads to eat without saying a word. Austin finished dinner as quickly as possible, saying that he still had work to do, and left first to go to the study. The meeting with Wayne in the morning was regarded by Austin as the biggest setback in his life. After calming down, he couldn't calm down, and the more he thought about it, the angrier he got. He didn't want to see Wayne recently, and it would be best if he didn't even hear his name. The pain that went deep into his bones still existed, and it still needed the lucky ancient silver coin to suppress it. Austin analyzed it rationally and came to a conclusion. Wayne was not the chosen knight of the Dark Goddess, and he got the power of the Dark Knight in another way. In other words, Wayne stole the power of the Dark Knight. If Wayne is really the chosen knight, no matter what purpose Austin has, he personally delivered Twilight Despair to the Dark Chosen. This is an indisputable fact. According to the promise of the goddess, the curse is over, the game ends here, and Austin will no longer feel pain. But he is still in pain. In summary, Austin infers that Wayne has the ability to steal the power of the night. Darkness is like this, so is death, this is a complete fake night. Austin envied, but did not say it, guessing that Wayne's ability is related to the proto-bloodline. Proto-bloodline alone is not enough. Before Wayne, there were other proto-bloodlines in the chosen continent, and no one had ever heard of anyone who could steal the power of the night. The key lies in the ancient god's face. The ancient god is full of unknowns and is synonymous with taboos and terror. Wayne's evolution is limitless. But this has led to another problem. Austin remembers clearly that his first meeting with the Death Knight was at the Tame River in early July last year, when Wayne had already obtained the power of the Death Knight. Wayne met the ancient god, and his proto-body bloodline imitated the ancient god. The location was Dragonheart Island, and the time was in mid to late August. The time doesn't match. Based on this, it is speculated that Wayne is the god of death, and he stole the power of the Dark Knight through the proto-body bloodline. But the goddess will not have 2 knights at the same time. Wayne is the god of God, and Paris will be deprived of all the honors of the night because of betrayal of faith. Paris's Death Knight is still there. In addition, Wayne's confidence when making a bet, he stole the power of the night is not the first time, and he is a habitual offender who wins repeatedly. He knows that he will win, so he bet everything. This guy is cheating. Austin overturned all the previous speculations. Wayne's ability to steal the power of the night has nothing to do with the proto-body bloodline. It is just an excuse to fool people. He also hides a bigger secret. This secret allows Wayne to switch between beliefs freely, and even the gods were deceived. Thinking about Wayne's secretary, Mona, who obeyed Wayne's orders, Austin speculated that Wayne used the same trick to deceive the Holy Father Church. Mona was not an undercover agent of the church, but a bodyguard arranged by the church. Considering that those who play with the holy light are dirty, Austin is a little bolder. Mona is the gift given to Wayne by the church. The church, this nun is still new. You can play with it as you like. If you break it, there will be a new one. In addition, there is no such thing as a knight of heaven, nor a knight of hell. The two playing cards were smashed by Austin with his money ability. He has obsessive-compulsive disorder. The purpose is to correspond to several other knights of faith. Austin analyzed the history of the church and guessed that Wayne deceived the church with the identity of an angel. The chosen knights can be transformed, so it should not be a problem to transform into an angel. Austin's scalp tingled. It's not scary to lie to people, but it's scary to expose them. Even if he has a fortune, he can't buy paper to wipe Wayne's ass. The hole is too big. Let alone Landau Manor, the Ministry of Magic can't be plugged in. Austin felt that he was bold enough, but looking at the actions of the heir, he was too kind and pure as a blank sheet of paper. It was too late to say these things now. Wayne and the Landau family had completed the binding, and the Windsor royal family officially stamped it and completely locked it. If you randomly pick 100 people on the street, 90% think Wayne is his illegitimate son, and 10% think they are brothers. There is no third possibility. Therefore, this hole must be blocked by Austin, even if it cannot be blocked. Austin was numb. It was obvious that he was the one who hated Wayne the most in this family, but he had to clean up Wayne's ass every time something went wrong. In order to prevent a bigger hole from being exposed, he had to prepare toilet paper in advance. Did he find an heir or a job? Looking at the back of Austin leaving in a hurry, Wayne was very happy. This was the feeling he wanted. This is the feeling of flying.jpg. It's not enough. Teacher, Austin has been very dissatisfied with me recently. He hasn't been in a good mood for several days. Wayne looked aggrieved, not knowing where he had made a mistake. Maybe he is under too much pressure at work, so he is like this, often having an attack, and he is used to it. Hiffy muttered, and seeing the student's distressed face, he said coldly, "Look how spoiled he is, he has a bad face all day long. Megan, go to the study and see if he is dead. If not, let him wait in the study, I will deal with him later." "Okay, ma'am." Megan nodded and gave Hippy a sympathetic look. "What a poor woman." Then, he gave Veronica the same look. "What a poor woman." Then I thought about it, there was another poor woman in the restaurant, herself. What a poor woman. After dinner, Sci-fi led her daughter and students to her study room, waved her hand and set up a soundproof barrier. "I don't know who I'm guarding against, but it's probably not Megan. I have inquired about the situation. The investigators sent by the church headquarters to London have arrived in recent days. The specific time is unknown. Maybe they have already arrived." Sci-fi told the information about the investigators at the headquarters. The investigators' job is to review the candidates for the Holy Son/female, and make a score based on various factors such as cultivation, appearance, moral quality, etc. Candidates who pass can be selected, and candidates who do not pass will be rejected on the spot. Even as a candidate, not just anyone can be a candidate. Sci-fi analyzed based on his experience in participating in the selection that year. In order to prevent the major divisions from showing off, the investigators are usually divided into two groups, one bright and one dark, and each performs scoring. The scoring of the dark group is more stringent, and all intelligence is collected by oneself. It accounts for a very high proportion in the overall rating. And because of their high maneuverability, in order to prevent them from taking bribes, the investigators of the secret team are basically from the natural knights of the headquarters. The Knights of Nature recruits all the elites of the church, and all members are golden mages. The leader is a knight of the goddess who walks in the world. His strength is at the first level in the god's chosen continent. He is also the strongest person in the Church of Nature. His loyalty to the goddess is self-evident. Mother, since we have a divine knight who can listen to the oracle, why bother selecting a saint? Veronica asked in confusion, glanced at Wayne, snorted, and added, and the Holy Son. That's a good question, Wayne, you can explain it. Hefei tilted her head and looked at the student. God has two sides, the good that brings light to believers, and the evil that brings destruction to pagans. The two are combined into one to be God. This is true for the gods of any church. Wayne talked eloquently. The saint or the saint represents the good side of God, increases the cohesion of believers, focuses on publicity, and is the spokesperson of God in the eyes of believers. The chosen knight is just the opposite. It is the black glove of the god. It does not overlap with the oracle that the saint listens to, and there is no contradiction in the coexistence of the two. You know so much. Veronica pouted, she wanted a brain like this too. Wayne, you're right, but it's too straightforward. Remember to be more tactful in the future. Sci-fi smiled forcefully. For example, other gods may have evil, but the goddess of nature certainly does not. She treats everyone equally and kindly, even pagans, do you understand? Is that so? Wayne frowned and said in confusion, Teacher, you don't know, I am actually very tactful. When Austin taught me, it was much more unpleasant than this. What nonsense did he teach you? Sci-fi was furious, her voice sharp. Oops, this can't be said. Wayne hurriedly covered his mouth, looking flustered as if he had made a big mistake, and hesitated. Teacher, I promised Austin not to say these things, otherwise he will say bad things about me in front of you and Veronica, falsely accusing me of having many girlfriends outside. Megan. She was sent by that person to eavesdrop, and upon hearing this, she was not surprised at all. Coincidentally, that person over there is preparing bad words in the study. That's unreasonable. I'll deal with him later. Don't worry, Wayne, I won't believe a word of his nonsense. Well, teacher, you are so kind. Wayne looked moved, and next to him was Veronica, who was extremely contemptuous. The words of the big trash are lies and cannot be trusted, but the words of the little trash are not true either. My mother was fooled around by two social trash, when will she be more mature like her? Ignore that bastard for now, let's continue talking about the investigators. I will handle the group of investigators on the surface. You can only deal with the group behind the scenes. If I am not wrong, the church will assign you a task in the near future. Take care. Show your best. Sci-fi warned, the former Saint Flora has always wanted to get a spot from me. She will not let go of this opportunity. Please be careful not to leave a bad impression on the investigators. Especially you, Veronica, please control your temper and don't be irritated by falsehoods. What about Wayne? Wayne has nothing to worry about. He is an excellent candidate. Just restrain yourself and don't act too perfect. Veronica. To put it bluntly, you and the big trash gave birth to the little trash, and I was picked up. You raised me to marry the little trash so that he could legitimately inherit the family, right? Teacher, don't worry, as long as I'm watching, Veronica won't be kicked out. Wayne patted his chest in assurance, and then said, the former saint has stayed at the church headquarters for more than 10 years. Will the members of the investigation team know her? If she uses this relationship to lay out the relationship, wouldn't Veronica and I be the first to do it? Was he rejected after being elected? Don't underestimate your teacher. She has connections, and so do I. Sci-fi smiled mysteriously. Just today, she received a call. The teacher who had lost contact communicated with her and asked about the two candidates for the recommended quota. Sci-fi had particularly complicated feelings about her teacher. Her dragon blood comes from her teacher, who taught her carefully and nurtured her. Back then, she directly withdrew from the selection and married Austin, causing great harm to the teacher and the power represented by the teacher. Getting married on the spot is not just a matter of falling in love. I just did it when I thought of it. There is another reason. Rebellion period. The reason why Xi-Fei's teacher focuses on cultivating Xi-Fei is not because of the deep relationship between master and disciple. The only purpose of cultivating Xi-Fei is to become a saint. As a student saint, she can gain more say in the church headquarters. As a tool person, Xi-Fei is very happy. I have found a new home and won't play with you anymore. The next person is Austin, an honest man who is not honest at all. The relationship between master and apprentice fell into a freezing point. Until today, 20 years later, the teacher felt that Xi-Fei had worked hard for many years and climbed from the grassroots to the high priest. He would definitely understand the teacher and become a teacher, so he took the initiative to ease the relationship. During the phone call, I learned that the dragon-blooded girl Veronica has extraordinary talents. The teacher said that he would personally operate it. As long as Veronica is not like the Ziffy who suddenly gave up at the last moment, everyone will have a bright future. This is sure. As for the other genius mentioned by He, because Wayne was a man, the teacher subconsciously regarded him as a candidate bodyguard, so he didn't take it seriously. Teacher, is it really okay for you to cheat your own teacher like this? Wayne said with an embarrassed face. Neither he nor Veronica would become the son/daughter of the Holy Son, just like Ziffy in the past. Choose to fall in love at the critical moment. Xi-Fei knew this, but she still recommended them to her teacher. Veronica has repeatedly shown her strength through filial piety, and the root cause can be traced back to Xi-Fei. As for Austin's genes, they are really worthless, they have all been knocked down. It's too bad, Dad. Le.jpg. The old guy only regards me as a tool for promotion. She dreams of becoming the Pope. She is already crazy. Ignore her. Xi-Fei curled her lips. Her character is too extreme and she is a hawk in the church. She has become a pope would be a disaster for everyone. Wayne shrugged, thinking of Chrissy's adoptive mother Doreen, and roughly understood how he felt. She had feelings, but not much. On the contrary, after Doreen was imprisoned, Chris felt less stressed and smiled more. Of course, it may also be because of falling in love and being attracted by sweet words. The relationship between the older generation was too complicated for the younger generation to enjoy. Wayne raised his hands to cover his ears, pretending he didn't hear anything. Who are you covering? Veronica pushed Wayne away in a hurry, fearing that her mother would find out that she and Wayne had kissed each other if their relationship was too close. This scene was seen by Xi-Fei, who had been there, and she suddenly realized that she was redundant. I'll say 2 more words, just 2 words, and it will be over soon. Xi-Fei didn't waste any words, she spoke quickly and explained the situation, and dealt with all the necessary measures to ensure that the investigators would treat Wayne and Veronica fairly. All they had to do was guard against Flora's dirty tricks. I know, it's a honey trap. Veronica raised her hand and glanced at Wayne coldly. It's you. Yes, the beauty trap is really scary. Teacher, you may have taken care of it, but you can't resist Flora's clever methods. What if she seduced the investigator? She is a former saint, and she is full of temptation just by showing her thighs. Wayne expressed concern. What should I do? Should I show my thighs too? Xi-Fei rolled her eyes angrily. Damn you bastard, you have brought all her students into trouble. No need to. If you show your thighs, the investigation team will be destroyed by the Dark Knights that night. Maybe the Death Knight is there too. This is not a thigh, it is clearly a night summoning device. It will kill you if you see it. It is easier to use than the goddess's oracle. Wayne groaned inwardly and asked a few more questions, indirectly reminding the teacher of the possibility of the enemy using tricks. Omega TKNC. As expected, Sci-fi guarded them all. She vowed that she was very optimistic about the integrity of the members of the Knights. I will have people keep an eye on the investigation team. They will not mess around in order to avoid suspicion. As for the investigation team behind the scenes, don't worry. The members of the Knights have devout beliefs and beautiful eyes. If Flora dares to show her thighs to them, she will give them a discount. Wayne, if you don't know this, you might think Flora has 3 legs. After Sci-fi finished her instructions, she removed the soundproof barrier and went to Alston's study, ready to deal with the disobedient bastard. Wayne is such a good boy, but he was led astray. Although as the heir of the family, if Veronica lacks talent, Wayne will be led astray sooner or later. If he can be as bad as Austin, he will not suffer in society in the future, which is a good thing. But this is too fast, we can't take our time. Veronica followed Sci-fi out of the study and went to the eldest lady's villa. When she found Wayne following her, her heart skipped a beat. She bit her lip and walked faster and faster, faster and faster. Seeing that downstairs, Wayne's destination was the same as hers, Veronica panicked. "Asshole, why are you following me?" "Yes, maybe it's a coincidence. I'm looking for my fiancé." "Wake up, you don't have a fiancé." While they were flirting, they suddenly heard a loud noise, broken glass and window frames fell from the sky, and a black shadow flew towards the woods. "It's so high." "Well, our dad is tall and far away." The two heads looked up at the sky, followed the black shadow and fell to the ground, shaking at the same time. Wayne dubs thoughtfully, opening his mouth and making a snapping sound. After being happy and filled with sorrow, what happened to this world? The Dark Knight was punched away by the High Priest of the Church of Nature. The Death Knight, his ally, dared to be angry but dared not speak. He only dared to grin. When did faith become like this? Can it be cured? Wayne sighed. He couldn't deal with the High Priest of the Church of Nature. He couldn't beat him at all. In order to help his ally avenge, he decided to bully the daughter of the High Priest of the Church of Nature. So loyal. How lucky the Dark Knight is to have such an ally. Wayne was moved by himself and quickly caught up with Veronica. One chased and the other ran, and soon they arrived at the villa of the eldest lady. Bang! Wayne pressed Veronica against the door with a wall dong. He lowered his head to smell the fragrance between her hair. The dragon-blooded girl shrank like a quail and dared not move. The offensive and defensive momentum is different. Restarting the myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 224. After kissing Veronica, Wayne drove back to Wayne's house and started the night college tutorial class tonight. Her little mouth was smeared with honey, very sweet, and soon she coaxed the tutor Chris to the desk. Today, Willie did not stay overnight, and Chris became much bolder. She gave the students a break in the middle of the class and went to the bathroom with her boyfriend to make love. In the master bedroom, Wayne hugged Chris and got into bed, and he opened his mouth and stunned the other party. "Ah, are you really going to participate in the selection of saints?" Chris was very surprised. She heard Wayne mention it once, and her soul flew away at that time, so she didn't care much. Never expected that Wayne would actually do it. Yes, Veronica also participated. This time, the 2 places in the Windsor division were taken by the Landau family. Wayne put his hand on her shoulders, and the beauty in his arms was still the pure love of first love, and he was very comfortable. Veronica also participated. Chris blinked and tried. "As far as I know, the saint must serve the goddess wholeheartedly. During this period, she must maintain a pure heart and pure." Chris hummed twice and stopped there. Wayne is so smart that he must understand what she means. "I am very pure." "Liar." Chris pointed at Wayne and then at herself lying in his arms. "Forgive her for being honest, this relationship is not pure. First of all, Wayne's heart is definitely not pure, it's bad. Secondly, although he hasn't done that yet, he has done that, and Wayne's body is not pure either. What if the goddess looks through her memory? It's too bad. Is this something the goddess can see? It's a serious blasphemy, and it's not too much to be shot 1,000 times. Chris and Philomena have the same idea, advising Wayne to be kind and not to commit suicide. She doesn't want to lose her boyfriend at such a young age. As she said, in order to prevent future troubles and make Wayne completely give up the idea, she turned over and rode on him. Wayne then turned over and pressed Chris under him, blowing into her ear, "Don't send me off yet, listen to me clearly, although I participated in the selection, I never thought of becoming a saint, I mean the son of the saint. Let me tell you a secret, the teacher has a mortal enemy in the church, my mission is to make the other party." After saying so much, do you understand? I understand. After listening to this, Chris narrowed her eyes into crescents. You will not become the son of the saint, your mission is to ensure that Veronica becomes a saint, right? Ah. A string of question marks floated across Wayne's forehead. Was he not expressing himself clearly enough, or was Chris stupid and not very smart? I wasn't so confused before. Is she in love? Chris put his arm around Wayne's neck and was very happy. High Priest he finally figured it out. You and Veronica are siblings. You can't be together. Therefore, Veronica will become a saint. You are responsible for protecting her and eliminating all candidates who can threaten Veronica. No way, this is possible? Chris had a reason and Wayne couldn't find a reason to refute, and was convinced by her. What do you think? Am I very smart? Well, you little clever ghost, nothing can be hidden from you. Wayne turned over and hugged Chris in his arms, sniffing her hair. I have an appointment with Austin tomorrow, and there are still some things to deal with at the Ministry of Magic. I will let you go tonight. The enemy went thousands of miles away and would not come back for 10 or 20 years. Chris couldn't help but be happy. Looking into the future, she saw herself standing at the door of the church in a wedding dress. Wayne is the groom, Veronica and Willie are bridesmaids, Mona is the master of ceremonies, and Philomena is the witness. Everyone applauded, released white dove balloons, flowers rained down, melodious music sounded, and all offered blessings to the newlyweds. Perfect. Chris was still a little excited when she thought about it. She scratched Wayne's face with her long hair. The moon is so good tonight, aren't you going to do something to her? After a while, she fell asleep on Wayne's chest, with a sweet dream, and the corners of her mouth couldn't help but curl up. The members of the investigation team are coming, I wish you good luck. In the study room of Landau Manor, Austin played with ancient silver coins and sneered at Wayne. The Death Knight broke into the natural church to compete for the position of the Son of God. No matter how much evil the natural church has done, with you as retribution, their debts can be paid off in one go. Austin advised Wayne to become the Son of God and not give up halfway. The picture must be beautiful to be the Son of God in front of people and the Death Knight behind people. I do want to, but because of Veronica, I am no longer pure. Wayne sighed and agreed, no matter how many sins you committed in the first half of your life, with me as your heir, your sins have been paid off. Austin frowned and said with a bad look, I know your relationship with the church. You pretended to be an angel to deceive them. From the beginning, Mona obeyed you. She is the servant of the angel and your servant. Wayne's heart skipped a beat. As expected of old Den, he guessed something again. But it's totally wrong. It was the church that treated me as an angel. I denied it in every possible way, but they refused to obey and insisted that I look in the mirror. What else could this face be but an angel? Wayne shrugged. It happened that he hated the devil very much and chose to cooperate with the church. As long as it wasn't Paris, he would go wherever the devil went. You shouldn't deceive the church, Austin warned. It doesn't matter. Let them sign a written agreement. I'm not an angel. They are just self-righteous. If anything goes wrong, it has nothing to do with me. Hearing the word written receipt, Austin's eyebrows twitched wildly, and his expression gradually became paralyzed. He was deceived by Wayne into giving him 2 written receipts, and the more he thought about it, the more upset he became. He took a deep breath to suppress his displeasure. What is your biggest secret? Tell it out. For the sake of the family, this is very important. I am the illegitimate son of the goddess. Look, you don't believe me when I tell the truth. Wayne laughed twice sarcastically, and then said, anyway, I have completed the mission on the Vatican side. Mona is very loyal and will never betray me. If you want any information in the future, just ask me directly. Austin sighed, knowing that he could no longer do anything to Wayne. Even if he told the truth, Wayne would frame him because he had set up a good student persona in front of Sci-fi. Thinking of this, Austin touched his face. The punch last night was really fierce, which reminded him of when he just got married. A short separation is better than a new marriage, and a long separation is like a first love. It feels pretty good. Surrounded by pain for many years, Austin's physique is somewhat abnormal, which is somewhat related to Sci-fi, and the main reason is the training of the Dark Goddess. Tell me, what information do you want to share with me today? It's related to the devil. Have you found Juliet? Not yet. The 2 of them revealed their identities and shared information with each other without any scruples. In a sense, they trusted each other more like father and son than real father and son. Similarly, the 2 did not say it, and were very satisfied with each other's hidden identities. The 2 nights of death and darkness are enough to walk sideways in London. If it weren't for Austin's insistence, Wayne dared to learn from the Franks and rush into the Ministry of Magic to ask the Queen to lie on the guillotine. Unfortunately, he couldn't rush. Before talking about the devil, I have a question, Austin. What is your relationship with the Queen? Wayne asked curiously, the fire of gossip burning. No relationship, at most ex-boyfriends. We got married and had children separately, and that relationship was also let go. Austin said it in one sentence. Wayne gave a thumbs up and said enviously, then, you don't allow me to get close to the princess because she is Veronica's sister? Don't talk nonsense. The Queen and I have never had physical relations. Austin said truthfully that he approached Sophia with some impure motives. One was that he coveted the position of the prince and wanted to use it to increase the influence of the family. The other was, Sophia was really beautiful when she was a princess. He couldn't help but went up to deceive her. At that time, Sophia was pure and simple. She had some scheming but not much. She was far less cruel than she is now. In addition, the knights protected her well and she had not been baptized by social garbage. In a few days, she was fooled by Austin and fell in love with her. Boo, the first kiss was explained. Austin was also young at the time, with impure motives and obvious purposes. He was discovered by the king at the time and directly broke up the couple. After many years, they didn't see each other. When they met again, the princess was the queen and served as the Minister of Magic. Austin was a senior member of the Ministry of Magic. There was no ambiguity and no sparks. There was no collision. Austin strictly abided by etiquette and never contradicted the Queen. He adhered to the duties of the Tulip family and focused on loyalty. Wayne was disappointed. Since there is no blood relationship, why don't you let me get close to the princess? Can't I help you fulfill your last wish? Don't make trouble and keep a distance from the royal family. In addition, the princess is different from those girls who are willing to be deceived by you. She knows what she wants to do and has the ability to do it. If you rush up, she will only use you. So, the princess is very strong. I don't know, and I don't care. After talking about his gossip, Austin turned and said, according to you, the devil came for the Death Knight, but as far as the result is concerned, Except for the first familiar, the other two have other purposes. Malice died in the West District Cemetery, and his body became Wayne's senior soldier. Gain was controlled by a mysterious person and became the nourishment of the Book of Hell. The last Juliet has not appeared yet, and no one knows where she is hiding. Just by the name, Juliet is a female familiar, but because she is a devil, the gender cannot be too rigid, and the possibility of male is not ruled out. The Ministry of Magic is looking for the trace of this devil. The mysterious man knows hell too well. The Ministry of Magic suspects that he is Frank Turner, an expert on hell, but Frank is not a high-level official and cannot grasp too much information. His own strength. At this point, Austin paused. Intelligence and strength are easy to solve. You are the most typical example. You are not a high-level official because I know a lot of important information. Strength is simpler. Sacrifice your soul to faith. As long as you can hold on, it is not difficult to become stronger. Frank is detained for interrogation and will not be able to come out in a short time. The Ministry of Magic wants to do an experiment to see if there is any attack by the mysterious man in the near future to prove Frank's innocence. Isn't it too hasty? What if the mysterious man is Frank, and he has other clones? The department led by Frank is very important. The Queen needs him. If he can't find out, he is innocent. Austin glanced at Wayne. Don't feel wronged. This is politics. The Queen will compensate the Landau family. It's hard to say. I don't think you are that loyal to the Queen. Unless you have an affair with the Queen and sleep with your grievances. The more Wayne looked, the more he felt that Austin and the Queen were full of legs, plus his daily lover Meghan. The crown on the teacher's head was full of gold. What are the reactions of other churches? There is no movement in the Heavenly Father Church. As far as I know, it is very quiet. Austin looked at Wayne and saw him shaking his head, and continued, the Father's Church has always been insidious and cunning. Maybe someone has sneaked into London. The Ministry of Magic must find Juliet before them. As for other churches, Austin had a terrible headache. The most violent one right now is the Natural Church, and the leader is your teacher Ziffy. Austin did have a headache, and he tried to comfort Heap, but the effect was very mediocre. Heap did her duty, seized the opportunity, and turned the devil's attack on the Landau family into a devil's attack on her. Behind the devil is the mysterious man, who comes from the Ministry of Magic, and to round things off, the Ministry of Magic attacks the High Priest of the Church of Nature. Referring to the experience of the Moonlight Church, children who cry are fed by milk. As long as you can make trouble, the Ministry of Magic will compromise and cede some benefits. The Moonlight Church is no longer in trouble. Sci-fi knows with her toes that Philomena got what she wanted at the negotiation table. Now it's the turn of the Church of Nature. It is conceivable that the next child crying for milk is the head coach Dick of Sun Church. The sight of a bald, scarred, muscled tyrant with a face full of flesh and tendons crying for candy is terrifying. Wayne couldn't help but shiver and said happily, the royal family is in a terrible situation. From the moment the power is delegated to the Moonlight Church, the other two churches of the Life Alliance will not be idle. If we play balance, the forces of darkness and death will also there will be a surge. Except for Heavenly Father's Holy See, everyone has a bright future. Having said that, doesn't the Heavenly Father's Church have a future? Not necessarily. As long as Juliet and the mysterious man are caught, and a scapegoat is placed on the Windsor royal family, the Heavenly Father Church can make a comeback and once again include Windsor in the territory of faith. Wayne rubbed his temples. It's too messy. You're right. I like the original Windsor better. Who do you think caused these? Alston snorted coldly. If you had not saved the High Priest of the Moonlight Church, the situation would not have become so corrupt. If you were not the heir of the Landau family, you would have shot yourself in the back. But the High Priest is alive and well. Clingy yet painful, lustful yet pure, he looks like that. Wayne did not regret saving Philomena. Even without the current relationship, he would still yell when he saw injustice. Austin believed that all the responsibility lay with Wayne. Philomena was saved by Wayne and broke the window paper of the Ministry of Magic, so that the royal family had to start to compromise. The three familiars came for the Death Knight and gave Heavenly Father the chance for the Holy See to make a comeback was ultimately caused by Wayne. You can't say that. The wheels of the times are rolling forward, and the corrupt system will inevitably be crushed. Wayne made some nonsense, but it was of no use. Austin was not fooled at all and changed the subject. Has the Ministry of Magic found Juliet's whereabouts? Will you change your identity to investigate? Won't. Austin was concise and to the point. He is back. I don't want to be active in that identity, which will increase the risk of exposure. It's so embarrassing to be loyal to the Emperor and patriotic, Wayne sneered. My heir will investigate. Austin smiled and looked at Wayne. I was afraid that something would happen to you before, leaving the Landau family with no heirs, but that won't happen anymore. Darkness, death, heaven, you have mastered too much powerful power, and the familiar is definitely not your opponent. Think clearly, I am not threatening you, I am threatening you. If I are exposed, I will definitely drag you down and everyone will die together, Wayne reminded kindly. With your head, you won't be exposed. Austin praised with a dark face. He and Wayne had never exposed anything and hid everything very well. They only blew themselves up once. Because they are a family, they also exploded the Landau family. That's right. I transform into the Dark Knight and don't panic even if I get caught, Wayne nodded repeatedly. He really had a good mind. With that said, he inserted his hand into the void and pulled out the dark sword Twilight from despair. Austin's eyelids twitched and he put down the ancient silver coin, feeling no pain at all. He criticized, idiot, don't let the Dark Knight move and let the Death Knight take action. The Death Knight has reached a cooperative relationship with the royal family and can take advantage of the opportunity to make a fortune. The Dark Knight gets nothing but suspicion, understand? As expected of you. Wayne said he had learned it, danced the Twilight desperate stage, raised his eyebrows and said, how is it? Is it very comfortable? Austin. Freed from the curse, his body feels comfortable, but his forehead feels heavy. He is no longer the unique Dark Knight. The Headless Horseman liked it from the air, so why not? Tell me, if I hold Twilight Despair and you have both hands free, will it be easier to serve the Queen? Wayne gave her a look that everyone understood. You are such a genius, why didn't I think of that? Austin was overjoyed and reprimanded with a dark face, don't talk nonsense. Sci-fi is your teacher and your elder. Don't make lewd remarks about her. I didn't say teacher. Wayne curled his lips, sent him back to Twilight's desperate situation, and said to the heir, if I give you a chance, it won't work. Don't beg me in the future unless you let me kick you. Austin held the ancient silver coin and waited for a long time. Still feeling no pain, he frowned and said, even if you don't hold the Twilight Extremis, you can still control this knight's sword, right? Hold head high. Be gentle when you kick me. Austin struggled for a long time, but still refused to speak. Speaking out would be disrespectful to his wife, and he would rather endure the pain. You, a piece of social trash, are actually a good man. Wayne was surprised, but then he thought that the Queen might be innocent, but Meghan would never be. She was almost fooled by the acting of social trash. Wayne, here's a piece of advice for you. Austin said seriously, be careful of the Black Cat. No matter what method you use to get the power of the Dark Knight, your ability to control the Twilight Despair is better than mine. Don't use the power of darkness easily, and don't get too close to Monica. She smells the breath of darkness on you, and the Dark Goddess will find you because of it. What is Monica? I don't know. It came very strangely. After I got the lucky silver coin, It came to the Landau family. Everyone thought it was my pet. Austin looked outside the soundproof barrier. Even Megan thinks so. The memory disorder cannot be corrected. Wayne took a breath of cold air. He didn't know that the silly black cat had this ability. Is it the messenger of the dark goddess, coming to urge you to go to work, or monitor you? Not sure. Restarting the myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 225. Austin didn't know what Monica was, but he only knew that the black cat was a big problem. He couldn't drive it away or throw it away. Even if he killed it, he would return home intact the next night. Apart from this, the black cat showed no other abnormality, had a good temper, and would not fight back if he was touched. Moreover, he loves his home very much and will not run away from home even if he is free range. Therefore, Austin never fed Monica and was always taken care of by Megan. Everyone, including Veronica, liked Monica very much. Willie, who often comes to play with Veronica, Chris, who is invited to Veronica's house for afternoon tea, and even Wayne, who joins the family, all express their closeness to Monica. Even Austin himself, knowing that there is something wrong with the black cat, would occasionally be tempted to pet it. Somehow, Austin had a feeling that the black cat was related to the goddess of darkness, and the goddess had been paying attention to him. To be precise, the goddess is paying attention to Twilight Desperate. Wayne frowned when he heard this. I have an owl. You saw it in the cemetery. That skeleton owl is named Ashwi. It is the messenger of the sun goddess. Austin was stunned for a moment. The messenger of the sun goddess, the skeleton owl, what kind of undercover is this? Axia became what she is now because of her mistakes. She was sentenced to 100 years in prison and was unable to use her divine powers. Veronica once complained to me that Axia would fight every time she met Monica. Wayne glanced at Austin and added, it was during that time last year that I had to leave London to avoid the limelight because I dated the daughter of a certain big shot, and entrusted Ashwi to Veronica's care. Austin blocked the second paragraph. You mean, Ashwi can identify Monica's true identity? I'll ask when I get back. Wait a moment. Austin looked strange. You still have the identity of the Sun Knight? Not a Sun Knight. My knight teacher Valkyrie got the knight armor from Dragonheart Island. She was a member of the Knights of the Sun Goddess a long time ago and participated in the dragon-slaying battle, fighting against the giant dragon. His heart fell to Longzin Island and fell into eternal sleep. Wayne said, Valkyrie is very old and has very little memory left. She has lost almost all her memory and even her own name. Valkyrie is the name I gave her. I speculate that she is at least older than a year old. Chitos. Her strength has declined seriously. I can use the power of the sun when I put on the knight armor, but it is different from Shadow Nightmare and Twilight Desperate. I am not a chosen knight. Wayne speculated that Valkyrie belonged to an independent group of knights, and was not the same concept as the Death Knight and Dark Knight, the divinely chosen knights who walk the world. The specific department cannot be ascertained due to Valkyrie's amnesia, and there is no explanation from the Church of the Sun. Even Ashwi, the messenger of the Sun Goddess, is confused. Austin's face looked much better, and fortunately, the hole did not continue to expand. He said to Wayne, your original bloodline is too evil and will attract a lot of unnecessary attention. Use it as little as possible. Wayne nodded helplessly. The truth was this. He didn't want to transform, but his enemy was either a legendary mage or a devil who came to the world. He couldn't defeat him without transforming. Go to Sci-fi and ask her for magic. Maybe you can make your human form stronger, Austin suggested. It's not good. Wayne expressed doubts. His belief in magic was the same as hot pot, focusing on one pot cooking. The formulas were confusing and complicated, and he couldn't figure it out himself, so he gave up long ago. Try it. Your original bloodline cannot be measured by common sense. Austin glared at Wayne fiercely, but did not force him to reveal the big secret, and continued, Sci-fi learns magic, but it can't change her dragon bloodline, and she can't become an elf. You are different. Maybe you can, anyway, it can't hurt to give it a try. What if it works? Wayne nodded. The selection of the Holy Son was about to take place, so he happened to use this reason to ask the teacher for advice. There is also Philomena, the divine magic of the Moonlight Church can also be transformed into elves, so you can use them for reference. If it really succeeds. Normal state, elf state, night state, and fusion state, with 4 forms put together, he can be considered a boss to some extent. There's something going on. After thinking about it, Wayne still had a little impulse, and planned to ask the teacher for advice tonight, and then go to Philomena for advice at midnight, and let Philomena get his by the way. At the same time, in the suburbs of London, a black car stopped on the side of the road. A woman in a light green dress got out of the car and walked towards the dense forest beside her. The woman is 27 or 80 years old. She has a beautiful appearance and a graceful figure. Her hair is as long as a waterfall and flows on her shoulders. It is smooth and shiny, and each strand exudes a faint fragrance. Her beauty lies not only in appearance, but also in temperament. Her elegant demeanor seems to have experienced years of precipitation, exuding a unique charm. In this scene of a deserted wilderness, a beautiful woman walking alone, and a small forest, if a few strong men with sinewy faces jumped out of the grass, you can imagine the outcome. Before the strong man could take out the mushrooms, the beautiful woman planted them all over him and buried them in the ground for flower fertilizer. Flora Evelina, the retired saint of the Church of Nature, the plastic sister of Hephaestus, is here to meet with the investigators from the headquarters. Your Excellency Flora, I haven't welcomed you from afar, so don't be surprised. The man in a black suit walked out quickly. He was tall and handsome, with perfect facial features and brilliant blonde hair. He could be called a Prince Charming in a fairy tale. Just looking at the skin, this man has already won at the beginning of his life. Diamond Suit TK and Diamond Suit O. Rena, I asked you to meet here. As the host, I should be the one to welcome you from a distance. Flora smiled slightly, bright and warm, making people feel happy, making the whole world in front of Rena brighter. Rena's eyes were in a trance, and he recalled his first meeting in his dream. It was in the grove at the headquarters, just like the one before him. He sealed his strength, sharpened his physical strength with sword dance, and was so tired that he was sweating profusely. Saint Flora passed by and handed him a handkerchief with a smile. At that moment, Rena fell in love. Because of the identity of Saint Flora, he did not dare to express this love. He engraved the smile in his heart and went to the grove to practice swordsmanship every day, 365 days a year. If he could meet Flora by chance, even if he was just passing by, he would be happy for more than 10 days in a row. Yes, this is a licking dog. After all, she is a saint, and her identity is there. In addition, she is good at managing people's personalities and dressing up in various ways in the church. She has no shortage of liquors wherever she goes. Wayne thought that Flora would expose her thighs to seduce the investigators, but that was just what he thought. After all, this was what he did, and he thought everyone was the same. Wayne, who are you? Just talk about feelings when you come up. Don't deal with those frivolous things. Either give money or others. If you don't have money, just rely on the whip to talk. Obviously, Wayne overestimated the investigators at the Church of Nature headquarters, and even underestimated the dog-licking market that Flora had been operating in these years. Her fan base was huge, so she didn't need to show her thighs, just a smile was enough. Sci-fi also overestimated the integrity of the investigators at the headquarters. Rena was from the Knights of Nature and was one of the 2 investigators of the Dark Team. After receiving a call from Flora, he left his companions behind and came to the woods. Facing the goddess he had admired for many years, he was both nervous and excited. Not to mention the hand kiss, he didn't even dare to take a breath. I was afraid that if I did something wrong, I would be dissatisfied with the goddess. This is what licking a dog looks like. If it were Wayne, the hand kiss could be licked from the fingertips all the way to the face. Wayne, I had to respect you when I was a saint, and I will respect you even after I retire. So your retirement is not in vain. It can only be said that when it comes to licking dogs, people have different licking methods, and Wayne is better at the physical aspect. Lena, you are too formal. I am not a saint now, I am just an ordinary regional priest. Flora spoke slowly and said something, but Rena didn't hear it clearly. There was no sound or image in the world in front of her, there was only one Flora. This is his world. Looking at the goddess so close, Rena's heart surged. The world is so beautiful, the air is so fresh, and happiness is so simple. He longed for time to stop and stay in this moment forever. Rena. Sorry, Your Majesty Saint, I was distracted. Rena came back to her senses and apologized hastily. I am no longer a saint. Flora smiled and didn't care. Her face turned slightly red as she spoke. It was as if Rena was struck by lightning. The thunder penetrated his heart like an arrow, and he could not speak a word when he opened his mouth. She kept stressing that she was not a saint, and she even blushed. Is there a possibility that she was reminding me that the opportunity to pursue her had come? Rena secretly swallowed. Flora's smile remained unchanged, and she was very satisfied with Rena's performance. She elegantly lifted her hair around her ears and said slowly, I have no other meaning in asking you to meet. It's just because we work together at the church headquarters, and I serve as one of the saints. Years ago, you guarded me as a knight, and I met you as a friend. Rena nodded, his nervousness relaxed and accompanied by a sense of loss. You were the one protecting me in the past. Although it was a mission assigned by the church, we have been friends for a long time. When you arrive in London, I will arrange a pleasant trip for you. This, Your Excellency Flora, I'm afraid this won't work. As an investigator, I have a very heavy task. Rena was very excited, but the task was more important, involving the next saint, and there was no room for sloppiness. I understand, so in order to avoid suspicion, I asked you to meet here. Flora sighed, I shouldn't have come over originally. The high priest will definitely make a fuss about it if he finds out. But if I don't come, it will affect our friendship. I'm afraid you will be sad. She cares about me. Rena was keenly aware of the helplessness in his words, frowned and said, the high priest of the district has a problem with Your Excellency. No, you are a saint. Retired saint, now I am nothing. Flora smiled bitterly and shook her head. Besides, High Priest Sci-fi was a candidate for the sainthood at the same time as me. She lost to me, so it's normal for her to have grudges. I explained that I came to London to serve the church, but she always felt that I came to seize power. This high priest is quite annoying. The goddess was wronged, and Rena had a lot of negative comments about Hefei. Before they even met, he labeled her as an unreasonable shrew. If you don't talk about this anymore, it will interfere with your mission. After all, one of the two candidates for sainthood in London is her student and the other is her daughter. Flora sighed repeatedly. The official level is overwhelming. I didn't want to speak ill of someone behind their back, so I simply didn't mention it. Rena was even more disgusted, and backhandedly labeled he as arbitrary, abusing power for personal gain, and bullying others. In Rena's mind, Flora is the most perfect saint. She combines beauty, wisdom, and countless virtues. She is worthy of respect from everyone. Flora cannot be wrong, but Sci-fi can only be wrong. Your Excellency Flora, you are suffering in London. Please don't say that. The high priest is a very nice person and has high prestige in the district. It's me. High priest Sci-fi may be very good, but she cannot be better than you, especially the recommendation of a saint candidate. As far as I know, you also have a student. Reina was concerned. What should your students do? If they miss this selection, I'm afraid they won't have a chance in the future. Logically speaking, a saint does not need to care about age. Just like Floro, a saint will still be young and beautiful after another 20 years of work. Time will not leave many traces on her body, but will only make her charm more elegant and charming. But so be it. 60-year-old saint. It reminds people of grandma, that is, the holy woman, which is difficult to associate with purity and affects the image of the goddess in the minds of believers. Girls in their 20s, 18 or 19 are different. They are pure and flawless, fresh and refined. Their hearts are like a blank sheet of paper and are unadulterated. They only write dreams and freedom. Standing there is the endorsement of purity. At the same time, a saint who has been in power for a long time can also convey the goddess's oracle, which will inevitably lead to power disputes, which is not in line with the expectations of the church headquarters. Cleaning up every 20 years will be beneficial to everyone. The abdication and election of the saint are what everyone wants to see, but in comparison, the opinion of the saint is not important. What can I do in 20 years? It is not enough to regain my own power, let alone fight against the church's top leaders. I can only obey and follow the idle route to tour various places. My student is indeed outstanding. I firmly believe that as long as she can participate in the selection, she will become the next Saint Floro said with great confidence, shaking her head and sighing. She just had bad luck, that's all. No, you can fight for luck. Reina was quite moved and frowned. Your Excellency Flora, I have seen the list of 2 candidates in the Windsor division. There is an heir to the Holy Son. To be honest, he does not intend to become the Holy Son, right? I didn't understand it, and the High Priest didn't explain it. That should be it. Reina laughed. As the saying goes, there are policies at the top and countermeasures at the bottom. The selection of the saint has always attracted much attention. It is not easy for him to comment on the filthiness of the higher UPS at the headquarters, and it is not convenient for him to comment. He can only talk about the countermeasures at the lower levels. Each division wants its candidate to become a saint. In addition to honor, it is also related to career. It also involves the support of senior headquarters and is a mess. In order to ensure that the candidates can advance, the major divisions have used their brains on the only 2 places. One is the real candidate, and the other is a helper to ensure advancement. It can be a bodyguard or a thug, it means the same thing. A saint is always a saint. The natural church has not yet produced a saint, nor has there been a saint in the entire Life Alliance. The goddess spokesperson in the human world has always been a pure female image. It doesn't matter if you don't say it's the Holy Son, the goddess doesn't matter. The key is how the believers feel, calling a man a goddess. Somewhat diaphragmatic response. Reina thought for a moment, saw through the identity of Wayne's bodyguard, and asked, Your Excellency Flora, how much do you know about Wayne? I don't know much about it. You might as well say it bluntly. This is my task as an investigator. You don't have to be taboo about cooperating with my work. Okay, although it's not appropriate for me to say this. At Rena's insistence, Flora had no choice but to admit, the High Priest's reputation as a student is average, and his private life is somewhat chaotic. He is not only the High Priest's student, but also the illegitimate son of the High Priest's husband, a rich young man from the upper class. Rena narrowed his eyes slightly. Hearing this, he roughly understood Wayne's virtues and said displeasedly, High Priest Sci-fi is too tyrannical. Even a candidate should not be so messy. She has failed the church's expectations, her trust. Rena, be careful, we are not qualified to say such things. I'm sorry, I got excited. Reyna apologized repeatedly and said sincerely, Your Excellency Flora, please rest assured that I will launch a series of investigations on Wayne. If he is really so unbearable, I will disqualify him as a candidate and let your students make up for it. She deserves this honor even more if she takes the vacancy. Reyna, I don't mean that. I have contacted my friends at the headquarters and they will make arrangements for me, Flora said hurriedly. She had no ill intentions towards Sci-fi and approved all the arrangements made by the High Priest. No, the headquarters is too chaotic. Find a spot there, I'm afraid. Reyna didn't want to say the rest. In his opinion, Flora took the initiative to transfer out of the headquarters to avoid harassment. You bunch of bastards, what do you think a saint is? Today, the saint is guarded by me, Knight Reyna. Reyna is full of energy, the knight has a psychotic episode, and vows to protect Flora's purity. Flora looked moved and her eyes were a little red. She turned around and said, Sorry, I lost my composure. Your Excellency Flora, please rest assured, leave everything to me. Lina Wangji was heartbroken and clumsy. She didn't know how to comfort her and was afraid that comforting her would offend the goddess, so she hurriedly said goodbye and left in a hurry. He didn't even dare to ride in the same car with the goddess. If it were Wayne, this grove, this limousine, even if he didn't make the saint cry, he couldn't stand the saint's warm invitation, and he was no better than an animal. Wayne, it was the saint who made the first move. She insisted on asking me to bake puffs in the woods. Don't believe it? If she didn't mean that, why not meet in a serious restaurant? By the way, in romantic Frankish, éclair means having fun. It's quite romantic, and it's all romantic. Looking at Reyna's leaving back, Flora's smile faded and she turned around and walked out of the woods. The 2 nights of darkness and death disappointed her. They had not bothered Sci-fi for so long. Especially the night of death. The mark she left disappeared. She could not track his whereabouts, and could not carry out the follow-up plan. Reyna, don't let me down. Flora glanced at the rearview mirror and drove back to London. The investigators from the headquarters had arrived, and the follow-up plan could be carried out. The target was locked on Wayne. She was determined to get this spot. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 226. You want to learn magic. In the manor bedroom, Philomena sat in front of the dressing table, her nightgown half opened, undressed, and looked at her little boyfriend in the mirror in confusion. Wayne stood behind Philomena, slowly wiping the night cream on her, with a serious and meticulous look on her face, as if he was guarding justice. Well, the magic of turning into elves, I don't care about elves, such as a beautiful elf like you. The little mouth is so sweet, let me try it. Philomena tasted it and had endless aftertaste. The fragrance of love was indeed very sweet. She smiled and said, What's the use of learning this? You can't become an elf. The ancient gods are much nobler than the elves. Wayne's evolutionary path has been determined and cannot be affected by low-level evolution. Let's try it, just in case. Well, if you want to try and fail, it won't hurt to teach you. Philomena sold the Moonlight Church's secrets without even thinking about it. She asked with a smile in her eyes, Why don't you ask your high priest teacher? You are so obedient, you should ask her. She taught me, but only the natural method. I want to get together the 3 magical methods of the Life Alliance. Wayne told the reason. He wanted to learn, and Sci-fi naturally had no reservations. However, the evolutionary path of Dragon Blood teacher had already been determined. He could not transform into an elf, and he did not do much research to meet his requirements. Either don't learn, or learn the best. Philomena is different. She has reached the 9th level of Dzogchen at the end of her half-step peak. She is only one step away from the legendary mage. Her elf form is even more perfect. Wayne, Chris, I'll use your teacher first, and then I'll give it back to you after I'm done with it. It is a good thing to be studious, but you are the pastor of the Church of Nature, and I am the high priest of the Moonlight Church. It is difficult for me to ask for magic when I open my mouth. Philomena looked sideways at Wayne, raised her hand and put it between her lips. How much tuition are you prepared to pay? Hundreds of millions. Wayne's smile was rippling, and the two men and women were on the verge of breaking out, and the atmosphere instantly became intense. No, I still have to participate in the saint selection. I must remain pure. This line cannot be crossed. Seeing Philomena's movements getting bigger and bigger, Wayne hurriedly hugged her, and when the selection was over, he promised to obey Philomena. Philomena was slightly dissatisfied, not to mention that you have no intention of becoming the Holy Son. Even if you do, you have been impure for some time. What do you care about? To be on the safe side, it's better to be on the safe side. Wayne stuck to his guns, and to be fair, he felt like he was supposed to be impure. It has nothing to do with Philomena and Chris. He was originally a spy. He was trained first by Me-6 in Windsor and then by the Frank Intelligence Agency. The possibility of purity is very slim. He might have been handed over to the female superior long ago. It was one night. As a spy student, he was ordered to sneak into the enemy camp. He was wearing a black tights. Unfortunately, he was caught during the mission. A dozen masked female officers came out, and then he died miserably. But what if? What if the female officers did nothing but drag him into a night of cards? A person must have dreams and never give up hope. Wayne decided to keep this useful body and welcome the saint selection with the purest attitude, so as not to have a purity test stone at the selection site. Others may touch it to be crystal clear, but he may touch it to be pitch black. How embarrassing it is to have so many people watching. Veronica was also present, explaining. Oh, you can frame it on Veronica. Philomena smiled brightly and raised her hand to poke Wayne in the chest. How about you become the Holy Son? When you become the Holy Son, I will sleep with you and create a big scandal in the natural church. Le.jpg. Wayne patted his butt. Stop being happy and give me the magic right now. I'll try to learn it in one night while it's still late. It's not convenient here, come with me. Philomena waved her hand to open the dark realm, walked ahead in her bathrobe, and came to the place where she was promoted to practice. Wayne asked her about her progress as a legendary mage, and received an unhurried reply. The essence of her life was improving every day, and laying a solid foundation was the top priority. Where is the method, oral transmission, or reading? Wayne couldn't wait. Here. Philomena tapped her temple. The secret method is very complicated. It takes 3 to 5 months to teach it, which is enough for you to learn it for a long time. A simple and crude one, I can bear it. Wayne motioned to Philomena to use her mind to teach the secret technique. With their relationship, there were no secrets at all. They communicated directly through their minds, and his mind was extremely large, so there was no need to worry about destroying his brain. Philomena insisted on oral transmission, put her hands around Wayne's neck, put her beautiful lips on her, and completed the secret transmission between bickering. For a moment, the lips parted. Philomena was still not satisfied. She looked around in confusion and found that her little boyfriend was sitting cross-legged and was particularly active in practicing. Snort. The high priest snorted and sat in Wayne's arms displeasedly, pulling his arm around him. You are so grown up, just like a little girl. I am the little girl. Okay, just be happy. Wayne held the little girl in his arms tightly and browsed the new knowledge in his mind. To be precise, it was the spell formula. Divine magic has its own set of formulas, which are at the top of belief magic. Because it is so high-end, the formulas have completely different forms. For example, belief in magic is mathematics, while divine magic is advanced mathematics. The styles of painting are very different. Needless to say, Philomena's mind is still very good, and she can sort out the complicated formulas neatly. Wayne does not need to understand the reason, he can just apply the formula directly. There are many kinds of transformations of elves, including a single belief and the 3 beliefs of the Life Alliance. The more beliefs there are, the more perfect the transformed elves will be and the more powerful their potential will be. This is why Wayne came to see Philomena. Applying the formula, Wayne introduced his own magic power into it, and his body did not change. His magic power is too pure, without any flaws. He introduced the power of faith from the Book of Greed, but there are deficiencies in applying the formula, and he still cannot transform. Without him, the big eyes of the Book of Greed can only look at one small eyeball at a time. Once switched, the magic properties will change accordingly. Wayne couldn't muster 3 magic powers at once, not 2. It's very difficult. It failed. Philomena said matter-of-factly, your path of evolution is that of an ancient god. Your life level is higher. You cannot become an elf. Hey, you're so proud. What's wrong with me being proud of my man? It makes so much sense. Wayne couldn't hold it back and kissed Philomena hard, his eyes lit up and he said, you hold it in for a while, I'll try another operation. Philomena didn't know why, and her little boyfriend held her chest, and a moonlight magic gradually appeared in her body. Pure, clear, and flawless. She was about to try to use this magic power to cast a spell, but Wayne sent another natural magic power, followed by the sun. The 3 were constant, and the quantity and quality were controlled at the same level. Immediately afterwards, Wayne ran the formula to withdraw 3 kinds of magic power from Philomena's body, and gain 3 different magic attributes for himself while disconnecting from the Book of Greed. The formula is applied and runs smoothly. Wayne's body slowly grew taller, with dark green, silvery white, and gold red colors appearing between his brows and cheeks. His facial features were optimized, and the tips of his ears were elongated, as if he had a beautiful face. His appearance increased along with his slender and elegant body. The deep black eyes were bright and mysterious, the body exuded a faint luster, the aura that was almost embracing nature was otherworldly, and the temperament instantly became noble. Goodoo. Philomena swallowed, she was greedy. Wayne stood up with Philomena in his arms, more than 2 meters tall, balancing the 3 faiths in his body, turning into the most perfect elf. For a moment, Philomena felt a little ashamed of herself. She closed her eyes and turned into an elf. She landed on her feet, put her arms around Wayne's neck and kissed him passionately. Calm down, where is the dignified and virtuous high priest? Wayne patted his butt, waved his hand and opened a water mirror, saw himself clearly in the mirror, and couldn't help but nod his head. This is how it should be acted, and the beauty that has been so sealed has finally been released. If it weren't for the wrong style of painting in this world, the weirder the appearance, the stronger the strength, the more tentacles and the darker the background, he couldn't help but put the elf state into the last transformation. Why can you become an elf, shouldn't you? Philomena brushed her little boyfriend's face, he was very handsome, and she was ready to make a move, but Wayne's path of evolution had long been determined, and there was no way he could go back. This is unreasonable. Perhaps it was not integrated with the Book of Greed. Wayne gave the answer in his mind, and took the initiative to merge with the Book of Greed. In an instant, a 3-meter-tall faceless man appeared, wrapped his tentacles around Philomena, and pressed her toward the big eyeball on her chest. Philomena was a little disgusted, broke away from the tentacles and stood aside. Afraid of hurting her little boyfriend's heart, Philomena took the initiative to hold one of the tentacles. It was entangled by 4 tentacles again. Wayne raised his hands, his big eyes showing a thoughtful look. Once he merged with the Book of Greed, the elf state instantly went offline, leaving no room for struggle. There was another similar situation. When fighting against the legendary Mage Orb, he first fused the Book of Greed and then summoned the Shadow Nightmare without turning his body into a skeleton. Facts have proved that he did not take the wrong path. His original appearance is higher than the evolutionary path of faith. You haven't said why you can turn into an elf. Philomena pushed away the tentacles and saw that Wayne had changed back to his original state, and then returned to normal. The bloodline of the original body is very complicated. No, it should be the tolerance of the ancient gods. Wayne raised the possibility and let Philomena figure it out on her own. With such a good mind, she would definitely be able to help come up with a reasonable explanation. Philomena thought seriously. Smart, but in love. Wayne held it in his arms and tried the elf transformation again. The process went very smoothly, and it happened again. Goodoo. Wayne was very satisfied with Philomena's performance, and was thinking of performing it for other ships another day, especially Chris and Willie. Both of them were elves on the evolutionary path, and they must be greedy for his body. It has changed, but it needs the help of pendants. Wayne muttered that the way to crack it was simple, such as finding a container to store magic power. Mina, do you have any container to store magic power? What do you want this for? I have a lot of magic power, just save it for fun. Diamond suit TT Kappa A with a cute N diamond suit. Liar again. Philomena rolled her eyes, guessing that it was related to elves, and said, the quality of your magic is very high, and ordinary containers cannot carry it. I want to pick 3 high-quality gems. I will pick them up in a few days. The mind forging will take some time. Thank you for your hard work. I'll come back in a few days. Have a good rest tonight and I won't disturb you. Wayne was overjoyed and turned around and ran away. Asshole, don't leave tonight, stay with me. Philomena angrily jumped on Wayne's back and punched him several times. Day by day, he knew how to make her angry. Wayne shrugged and saw that it was the high priest who took the initiative to let him sleep with him. At 8 o'clock the next morning, Wayne went through the sewer under the contemptuous eyes of the twins. There are doors at home, and at worst there are windows. What's the point of going through the sewer? Besides, didn't he go through the sewer last night? Wayne returned to the Wayne house, changed into fresh clothes, and listened to the schedule given to him by FLA. Referring to Austin and Megan, they are exactly the same. You will go to the detective agency at noon today, and to Geauga County in the afternoon. If you go back and forth quickly, you can catch up with Miss Chris's tutoring class. FLA smiled slightly. If the information is correct, she will soon be Mrs. Chris. And that lady Philomena. It's time to add some nourishing ingredients to the master's 3 meals. FLA has done this job before. At that time, he was the butler of Landau Manor and took care of Austin. He was very professional and would not be unable to be nourished. It's so troublesome. Wayne frowned. Cross out the schedule of the detective agency. Mona will help me handle the work. Sir, Miss Mona wants you to go to the detective agency. A lady who calls herself Sarah wants to meet with you at a high price. FLA described the lady's appearance. She was dressed in black and had black hair. She was very generous. Sarah. Wayne suddenly realized that Frank's superior wanted to meet with him for business. What time did Mona meet? Afternoon tea time. Okay, I'll go to the detective agency now and handle the recent work. By the way. The camera turned and Wayne sat in the boss's chair to sign the payroll. Secretary Mona sat on the boss's lap and asked curiously, Boss, who is that Ms. Sarah? You ask even though you know it. Didn't you eavesdrop last time? Wayne said with a smile. I didn't eavesdrop because I was worried that she would threaten your personal safety. I overheard it by accident. Mona tactfully admitted, and then tried to ask, Boss, Are you from Frank? No, the situation is a bit complicated. I have taken a lot of undercover work. Otherwise, you think the devil is so easy to deceive. I said that undercover was successful. It's all practiced. Wayne patted his butt and told Mona not to ask too much. Mona suddenly realized, waved his hand to set up a soundproof barrier, and got under the desk. Wayne. Did you misunderstand something? The employee was motivated, and Wayne couldn't stop him. He said that it was a blessing to suffer a loss, and he took the grievance alone. At tea time, he met Sarah, who was dressed in black, and officially confirmed the cooperation relationship with the Frank intelligence agency. Calculating the time, the cooperation will not last long. When the other side raises his hand, his work will be over. Happy.jpg. This must be happy. Sarah was very satisfied with Wayne's surrender. She gave him 2 investigation tasks on the spot, both of which were related to the Tulip family. She hoped that Wayne would find out the results as soon as possible and then contact him by phone. She would come to collect intelligence and send it back to the intelligence agency headquarters via radio. Wayne responded perfunctorily and turned to take the task to Landau Manor. Old Den, business is coming. Austin was too lazy to participate. He picked up the phone and called Cumming Fleming. After some communication, Wayne met Little Mustache at the detective agency. Little Mustache. Wayne, W. Isn't this Brother Mustache? I haven't seen you for many days. Your mustache is handsome again. The former boss has become the boss again. Wayne felt that the world is really small. He knew in his heart that this was the protection of Me-6 for him. The fewer people who knew his identity, the better. Son of the beach. Little Mustache silently said in his heart, looking at Wayne, who looked like a decent person. He was so envious. As both are spies, Wayne's family background is much richer than his. One is from heaven and the other is a mudblood. There is no comparison at all. After a while, he said, I know this question should not be asked, but I still want to say that Mr. Landau has only you as his son. How could he be willing to throw you to Frank? Wayne was choked for a moment, and said after a while, is there a possibility that I am engaged to his daughter, so I became the heir of the Landau family? Impossible. The mustache thought so at first, until he compared the photos of Austin and Wayne. They are definitely father and son, and it is not an exaggeration to say that they are brothers. Okay, if you say it is, the grievances between the rich are very complicated. There was a time when I was not welcomed and my stepmother wanted to kill me, so I joined the army and joined Me-6. Wayne lied. It is true. The mustache nodded repeatedly. This is reasonable. The annoying illegitimate child, the vicious hostess, and the head of the family who is in a dilemma all meet his stereotypes of the rich. Wayne rolled his eyes. No one believed the truth, and rumors were flying everywhere. How could this world be good? He put the task entrusted by Sarah on the table and pushed it in front of the mustache. I'm in a hurry. I won't call the police today. The task will be handled as soon as possible, but not too fast. You can decide the specific time. They are waiting for my reply. Who is the boss between us? The mustache felt that he was outsourced, but he didn't say anything. He took the task and left. After the Tulip family's intelligence review was completed, it would be sent to the detective agency as soon as possible. After sending the mustache away, it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. For the tutoring class of teacher Chris in the evening, Wayne drove to the Geauga County base without stopping. Punch in and go to work. In the library, Wayne did not see the literary girl Odelia, who left him a letter. Bad news, the literary girl left and will never come to Geauga County again. She packed up and left with the unfinished ancient books. Good news, the first love moved to London and left a phone number. We can meet in London in the near future. It's okay that she left, but she also took my ancient books away. It's obvious that she deliberately asked me to call her to make an appointment. Wayne curled his lips and faced the CPU of the literary girl, and decisively obeyed. London again, how many have you been there? Isn't it better to stay in G&He County? Honestly, Wayne complained, picked up the phone on the desk, and made an appointment with Odelia for afternoon tea the next day. No afternoon tea, but reading books together is fine. Windsor Museum, circular reading room. Wayne met Odelia, who was wearing a hat to cover her delicate face, and lowered her head to read a book in the corner, without attracting the attention of the people around her. Wayne sat down next to Odelia, raised his hand and put his shoulder on her like a couple. Odelia rolled her eyes, slapped the claws on her shoulder, and warned, "Don't make trouble, this is not G&He County, my identity is different. If you are seen, you will be invited to have tea, and in serious cases, your life will be in danger." "What do you mean? Are you still a princess?" Wayne had a string of question marks floating on his forehead. He didn't look like the queen, so they were probably not from the same family. Odelia smiled and asked Wayne to sit down and read with her. Behind the two of them, a man who was browsing the bookshelf slowly raised his head, and under his gentleman's hat, his blonde hair flashed. "Rena." Looking at Wayne, whose private life was in chaos, he sneered at the corner of his mouth, silently crossed his mind, focused and stood in position, and the spy camera on his back captured people and took pictures. Prussia's latest spy camera is cleverly designed, with the lens hidden on the side. At first glance, the camera is still in the leather case, but in fact, the lens has been aimed at the target. The angle is very good, and the man and woman in the film are snuggling together, just like love. Ronaldo took a few photos, and the evidence was solid. Based on these photos alone, Wayne's first choice could be disqualified so that the goddess's students could fill the vacant spot. This is a sure thing. Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 227. Natural Church, Headquarters of the London Division. Sci-fi met the headquarters investigation team in the conference room. There were 10 people in the team. They were well dressed and spoke and acted very officially. It was obvious that they were on missions all year round. The investigation team came for the candidates of the Saint. They would review whether the candidates were qualified and would score them based on their cultivation, appearance, moral qualities, magical talents, and pious faith. These 10 people were the open investigation team. Although the review was strict, they followed the official process throughout the process. Their workplace was limited to the office. They understood the unspoken rules of the major divisions and were happy to be part of the unspoken rules. In short, they were here to do the mission, not to offend people. As long as the major divisions were not too far-fetched, they would usually turn a blind eye. By the way, make some money. Problems that can be solved with money are not called problems. Aston sponsored a batch of project funds as a friendly donation, and the 10-person investigation team immediately had no problems. They strictly reviewed Wayne and Veronica's documents and files, highly praised the 2 rising stars of the church, and highly recognized Sci-fi's persistence and efforts in cultivating cutting-edge talents for the church. In the document, Wayne's full name is Wayne Landau. He is the heir of the Landau family. His father is Austin Landau, and he is also a student of the High Priest of the London Division. Because the Landau family is one of the tulip families in Windsor, they are wealthy and occupy a dominant position in London. Wayne's status as the heir is a plus. And because he is the student of the High Priest, he is definitely one of them. Even if he cannot be selected as the son of the saint, he is worth focusing on. In terms of cultivation, Wayne is a silver mage, crossing the qualified line. There is nothing to say about his appearance. Although he does not have a handsome face like a prince, his facial features are regular and his skin is tender, and his appearance is better than most pretty boys. The subsequent assessment items such as moral accomplishment, magic talent, and pious faith are all fine and pass smoothly. In terms of merit, Wayne is the pastor of Geanhe County. He works diligently every day and has led the crowd to destroy a devil's stronghold. It is not an exaggeration to say that he has made great contributions. Obviously, this file was written by Healy herself. In order to pass smoothly, she not only spent money to manage relationships, but also beautified Wayne's personal image in a large amount of space. Although she herself does not think so, she firmly believes that she tells the truth. As for when Wayne's father became Austin, and whether Austin himself agrees, Healy can't care so much, and the extra points must be arranged for students. So, in the file of the Church of Nature, Wayne's family background became the Landau family. The same is true for Veronica's file. This year, the Windsor Division nominated a pair of brothers and sisters as candidates. As for whether the brother and sister will get engaged in the future, and how to explain if they get married, Healy threw it to Austin and let the bastard use his garbage brain to think of a way. If it can't be explained clearly, don't explain it. As a noble, in order to ensure the purity of blood, brothers and sisters have not been unheard of. It doesn't matter what outsiders think, as long as the family knows it. It only took half a day for Wayne and Veronica's candidate review to pass smoothly and received unanimous praise from the investigation team. Good reviews bought with money. In the office of the high priest, Wayne stood in front of the French window, looking at the vast plains and valleys, and marveled. This was Wayne's first visit to the sub-district headquarters. Just looking at the building specifications and floor area, the Natural Church was far more impressive than the Moonlight Church. It is understandable that the Natural Church has a high priest, and the Moonlight Church used to have only priests, so the two sides are not at the same level. It will not be the case in the future. The Moonlight Church has been fully upgraded. The size of Sci-fi's office now will be the size of Philomena's office in the future. Wayne guessed that the basis of this space was the dark domain of the Golden Wizard, which might be more advanced. It was built by the church headquarters and then sent to London through a special channel. The sub-district did not need to mobilize a large number of troops, and a new library could be built to disguise the facade. Thinking of this, the library he invested in the Moonlight Church is probably the newest sub-district headquarters of the Moonlight Church. This office is really big. Wayne looked at the spacious desk and imagined the scene of himself visiting the Moonlight Church headquarters and pressing Philomena on the desk. Philomena is so crazy that she probably won't even set up a soundproof barrier and let the twins guard the door. Great, this is a big victory for the Church of Nature. Death Church, I won too. Dark Church, me too. Patriarch of Heaven, I won too. Sun Church, I won half of it. Everyone is winning, but the Moonlight Church lost. Considering that the force is mutual, Philomena only needs to turn over and the Moonlight Church will win. Wayne was a little impulsive when he thought about it, but unfortunately he could only think about it now. The library of the Moonlight Church has not been built yet, and Philomena doesn't have such a big desk. Wait a minute, it's not impossible. Wayne looked at Veronica beside him, who was sitting on a chair reading a book, humming a self-composed little song, with her feet hanging in the air, swinging one in front and one behind. Veronica shuddered at the malicious attack and looked at Wayne fiercely. What are you looking at, scum, bastard, stinking hooligan? I warn you not to mess around. The vocabulary is still so poor. Wayne was very proud when he heard it. It's clearly a compliment to him. He. Wayne rubbed his hands and walked towards Veronica. The latter held the book in both hands and pressed it against his chest. He knew what the social scum wanted to do, and hurriedly said, "Don't mess around, this is the office of the high priest, and there is an investigation team for the saint candidate in the conference room. Something will happen. I understand. I can go home. I can't go home. I can't go anywhere." Veronica punched Wayne in the face, but the effect was average. She was taken into the arms of the social trash and gradually lost herself in a deep kiss. After a moment, Veronica reacted, broke free from Wayne, wiped her mouth, and said angrily, "How can you do this? What if someone finds out? That would be more exciting." Veronica rolled her eyes, the smell of social trash remained in her mouth, and she picked up the water cup beside her to rinse her mouth. Bang bang bang. The door knocked. 3 seconds later, Sci-fi carefully poked her head and said cautiously, "How is it? Did I disturb you?" Veronica's face turned red, and she stammered that she was reading a book and nothing happened. Wayne blushed slightly, revealing the shyness of a young lover, and followed Veronica to twist and turn. "Teacher, you think too much, next time just push the door." "Veronica and I are very conservative, unless the lights are turned off." "You blushed like a bubble teapot." Veronica punched Wayne in the face, and Sci-fi was overjoyed. At this moment, it was just like that moment, and she thought of the scene of her beating Austin 20 years ago. "Okay, don't talk about love, the investigation team wants to see you, there is a mission." Sci-fi was covered in dog food. Even though she loved this bowl of dog food, it was still a little hard to swallow, and warned, "I don't care what you do in the future, pay attention to the degree recently, there are many eyes watching you, do you understand?" "Don't worry, teacher, I will watch Veronica, she won't mess around." "Then leave it to you." "Leave it to him and it's over." Veronica was speechless and said sarcastically, "Mother, Wayne's father's name is Austin Landau in the file, but why is his mother not written?" "Your file has a lot of loopholes." "I know, her name is Martha." Wayne took over the topic. "He might not have been called Martha before, but he recently got the Dark Knight vest. No need to think, bet 20 constitutional orders, it must be this name." "Really?" Veronica was skeptical, suspecting that the social garbage was deceiving her again. "Okay, sort out your mood, the investigation team is still waiting in the conference room." Sifty led her daughter and students out of the office and met the 10 members of the investigation team in the conference room. Their tasks were basically completed, and only the last one was left, which was to review the candidate's talent in actual combat. It was not an actual combat on the ring, but a task was assigned, and the comprehensive score was given according to the completion of the task. It not only tested the candidate's magic skills, but also tested the candidate's mind. Because it was a task made by the investigation team, the candidate would encounter a series of difficulties during the period. The process of solving the problem was very important and related to the final comprehensive score. The mission time is 15 days, which is very relaxed. On behalf of the entire investigation team, I look forward to the performance of the 2 candidates. Charlotte, the leader of the investigation team, handed a document to the 2 candidates. Wayne took it with both hands to show respect, and brought out the perfect state of being trained by FLA, with meticulous words and deeds, humble and polite, and a gentleman template. Veronica wanted to roll her eyes, but she held back. Charlotte smiled and nodded, whispered a few words with several colleagues, and then left the meeting room, ready to rest for a night and go to the mission site tomorrow. Wayne and Veronica followed He back to the office. He handed the document to the teacher, who shook his head. "This is your mission, I won't participate, 15 days is enough, as long as you 2 don't go too far. For example, pulling, hugging, and kissing in front of the investigator." Wayne nodded, opened the file and browsed quickly. "The mission location is in Wenches, looking for 3 philosopher's stones." The 2 candidates were asked to eliminate wrong answers, find useful information, and then find the 3 missing philosopher's stones. Veronica looked over and frowned. Is this a candidate assessment or a detective assessment? Why is it so troublesome? No trouble, this level checks the brain to prevent brain-dead candidates from advancing. Wayne said he could understand, sealed the task file, and prepared to return to Landau Manor to stay up all night with Veronica to study. Veronica spat lightly, probably guessed what the social trash was thinking, and sat aside with the file and started to chew it. She could eliminate all wrong answers during the day without going to the night. Social trash wanted to enter her bedroom, but there was no door. "Teacher, is there anything else you want to tell me?" Wayne looked at Sci-fi. "You passed the preliminary selection of the Saint that year. What should you pay attention to in this stage? What is the focus of the investigation team's scoring? The result is not important. You will definitely pass it in 15 days. The difficulty lies in your performance during the task, whether it is intelligence or force. Excellent performance in any aspect can impress the investigation team," Sci-fi recalled. Her task that year was to destroy a death stronghold. She was young and energetic. She mistakenly thought that the other side was really a pagan. She raised her fist and beat him up, which left a deep impression on the investigation team. This kind of black history must not be told, which affects the image. Sci-fi beautified it and reminded, candidates are required to be both intelligent and brave. Seize this opportunity and show yourself well. As she said, she reminded, the open investigation team has come, and the secret team is still dormant. After 15 days, the two teams will meet for comprehensive scoring. There is not much time left for the investigation of the secret team. I guess they will show up during the mission and deliberately make trouble for you. Also, Flora has been silent. The more normal she is, the more abnormal she is. Be careful and don't be too intimate in public." Sci-fi frowned. Floro did not take care of the investigation team on the surface. The dark team came from the Knights of Nature, and everyone was devout in their faith. They would not accept bribes or slander themselves. She can't understand this good sister anymore. She can't go into battle in person and use a beauty trap against Wayne, right? Shameless, he is still a child. Thinking of this, Sci-fi looked at Wayne. "Recently, have you encountered any women who actively pursued or even cheated on her?" "That's too much. Especially Mona and Philomena, who had recently been short of money and had to deduct Chris's rations." "Hey, how many are there? Why did you think about it for so long?" Veronica snorted coldly. She knew who it was. Whaley, otherwise, she can't be a senior. "Don't make trouble, I'm thinking seriously." Wayne replied, shaking his head at Heapy. "Teacher, don't worry, apart from Veronica, I have never had close contact with anyone of the opposite sex." "Oh," Ziffy drawled, looking past Wayne and tilting her head to look at her daughter, who was immersed in the documents as if she hadn't heard anything. Sci-fi clenched her fists and coughed twice, warning them again to restrain themselves. Human lives were at stake, so don't kill anyone. "By the way, teacher, the mission mentioned 3 philosopher's stones. Is there any explanation for these stones?" Wayne asked curiously. "The philosopher's stone is the highest masterpiece of alchemy. It is also called the 5th element, the philosopher's stone, the miracle stone, the universal elixir, and a divine item like snake oil that can be used everywhere." Wayne has read a lot of magic books, including the Philosopher's Stone, which has been praised and belittled. But when it comes to what the Philosopher's Stone is, the magic books don't mention it at all, focusing on a mystery. The Philosopher's Stone is just a legend. I have never seen it. I have heard many stories, such as bringing people back to life, turning a person without talent into a powerful magician, etc. He cited some examples he had heard and concluded, they are all rumors. Just look at them. If you believe them, you will be fooled. What about these 3 philosopher's stones? It's fake. That's right. The philosopher's stone has been highly praised, but when it comes to what it is and where it comes from, experts are at a loss for words. If the philosopher's stone is a hoax, it doesn't matter whether the 3 stones are real or fake. If the philosopher's stone was not a scam, such a precious divine object would certainly not be used to assess candidates, and the 3 stones were undoubtedly fake. Go back and pack your luggage and set off tomorrow morning. Remember to rest early tonight and don't study too late, Sci-fi ordered, emphasizing her tone when she mentioned rest. Veronica left the office with her head bowed while holding the file. She didn't say a word on the way until she returned home and kicked Wayne hard. "It's all your fault, mother has crazy thoughts." "Then explain to her why you are yelling so loudly." Wayne whispered and asked Veronica to study the documents first. He would go home and pack his luggage, and they would study together when he came over in the evening. "Remember to leave the door open for me at night. If you dream, I won't even give you a window." Wayne returned home, randomly picked out a few clothes boxes, and left the rest of the outdoor gear to Frau to sort out. "I made several phone calls, saying that I have been very busy recently and would make an appointment when I was free." He got into the sewer, went to Philomena's manor without stopping, had dinner with her, and got 3 gems by the way. The red, white, and green gems can store 3 different kinds of magic power. Vertical lines split open on Wayne's chest, and his tentacles stretched out, rolling in the 3 gems. Portable space. Wayne's carry-on space is not large and is only used to store important items, such as ancient silver coins and a fire element ring. The 4 elemental rings he obtained previously have been drained, and the fire elemental ring is retained as a spell-casting prop. With his affinity for the fire element, this ring cannot be used when casting spells, so he keeps it just for fun. "What the hell did I sleep with?" Looking at Wayne's split chest, Philomena's eyelids twitched wildly, and she raised her hand to touch her little boyfriend's chest. "There is a heartbeat, but do you really have a heart? The ancient god is like this." "Congratulations, you are the first woman on the god-chosen continent to have sex with an ancient god." Wayne gave a thumbs up. Not only the ancient gods, but also the Death Knights, Dark Knights, and Sun Knight reserves. Philomena only slept with one man and completed her faith stamp collection. She was too strong. "Let me see you transformed again," Philomena urged, wanting to see her little boyfriend's elf form to wash her eyes. "There's really nothing I can do about you." Wayne sighed and followed Philomena into the dark realm. Soon, the 2 beautiful elves hugged each other. "Why did you come so late?" Landau Manor, the eldest lady's villa. Veronica was studying documents in the study and pointed to the clock on the wall. "At 10 o'clock in the evening, social waste is still later than women." "I can't help it. A black cat crossed the road and caused me to get lost on the road of life." Wayne sighed and put the blame on Monica with his backhand. He won't say the real reason. It's so sad that it brings tears to his eyes. When she learned that Wayne would be away for 15 days, Philomena was worried that her young boyfriend would be too energetic and act haphazardly outside, so she prepaid the 15-day share. Fortunately, Wayne was not squeezed in vain. He betrayed his male prostitutes in exchange for 3 gems, and his losses were temporarily stopped. Black cat? Monica? Well, let's not talk about that. Let me study the documents and see which correct answers you have eliminated." Wayne rubbed his hands and saw that there was only one chair in front of the desk, so he squeezed Veronica away and sat on it. "Veronica sits on the whip." Speaking of Monica, Wayne asked Ashwi, who didn't know what Monica was. He only knew that this black cat was particularly annoying. 2 social wastes meet, convinced that Monica is related to the dark goddess, and come for Twilight's desperate situation, waiting only for the real chosen one to show up before revealing their identity. Being forcibly held in Wayne's arms, Veronica couldn't help but feel the deer bumping in her heart so frequently that she almost killed the deer. Maybe it was a golden retriever, or maybe her personality was like this. Even though she had kissed and looked at her, she couldn't help but feel shy every time she got close to Wayne. "Wake up, don't be in a daze. There are 3 philosopher's stones and 3 lines. How did you find more than 10 of them? Where did the extra clues come from? I suspect there are hidden levels. How to say? It's in your diary." Diary and all, You've already fallen in love, it's almost time to quit. Restarting the myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 228. Early the next morning, Wayne drove Veronica to Winches. 100 kilometers away is not that far, and driving is more free. On the way, Veronica was still studying the documents and questioned the 3 clues that Wayne had sorted out. Is it too simple? The other clues are also very suspicious, and there is really no need to investigate. These 3 clues are the most likely. Check them first. If you can't find them, check others. Why? The most characters appear and the plot is the most complicated. That makes sense. Veronica tried to refute, but when she spoke, she believed the mind of society's rubbish, and then said, if it's so simple, we can complete it in 2 days, which is also a bonus, right? The extra points are not important. I hope to make a quick decision and finalize the candidates in the shortest possible time. How to say? The teacher's nemesis, Flora, is too quiet. If it were me, I would definitely be holding back my ultimate move. Either I wouldn't move, or I would make the final decision if I moved, without giving the teacher any chance to make a comeback. So the faster, the better. I don't want to and can't give her too much time, Wayne replied. Veronica nodded secretly, indicating that she had learned something again. If these 3 clues are false, should we split up? No, I can't leave your sight. Wayne glanced at Veronica. It's not ruled out that Flora is using a honey trap. Watch me closely so that she doesn't take advantage of her. Veronica couldn't stand someone's narcissism and rolled her eyes. She is a former saint and a high-level member of the church. It is impossible. It's so funny, Austin is still a high-ranking official in the Ministry of Magic. It's different, he has no faith. I don't have any faith, so wouldn't I become a candidate for the Son of God? Veronica was speechless and whispered, the investigation team suspects that you are a bodyguard sent to assist me. The church cannot have a holy son unless you can become a woman. At noon, the 2 arrived in Winches. Winches is the former capital of Windsor. It has a long history, many churches, and a large number of royal tombs, which is very suitable for archaeology. Following the clues in the document, the 2 found a bar in a remote location, the Big Bird Bar. According to reliable information, the bar owner Franco is a black magician who runs an underground exchange and is the last person to handle the Philosopher's Stone. Through him, he may be able to find the whereabouts of one of the Philosopher's Stones. Mother said these are all actors. Franco is not a black magician, but a member of the church. This level tests our ability to respond on the spot. Use your eloquence to convince him. Veronica opened the car door and said. Don't worry, I'm very eloquent. Wayne shook his fist at Veronica. What do you want to do? Veronica hurriedly pulled him back and whispered, don't mess around. I say it again, you are one of your own. Who knows? Wayne pointed at himself. The teacher may know, and the investigation team may also know, but as candidates, we don't know anything. Do you understand? Is this okay? Otherwise, the investigation team put a lot of effort into writing the script, so please be respectful. Wayne said as he readily opened the bar door. The name of the Big Bird Bar is full of the local customs and customs of Windsor. Even though the location is remote, it can still stand, which shows that the business is indeed not bad. Following the reasoning, the bar was not a temporary team created by the investigation team, but had existed for a long time. This is a hidden stronghold of the Church of Nature. It's not shabby to practice faith. It fully demonstrates the great mind of the goddess, tolerates all kinds of people, respects all different forms of gender, and advocates the equality of all living beings. At noon, there was no one in the bar. The bartender was wiping the bar and a few customers were sitting in the corner sleeping soundly. Snoring like thunder, I was exhausted last night. Wayne slapped his hand on the bar, and a decree came out, who is that? Where is Franco? I have a business to negotiate with him. The bartender took the order, poured a glass of wine for Wayne and Veronica, and then asked, "Two guests, do you have a reservation?" "No, but I just want to see him." Wayne took out a stack of constitutional orders from his arms, a thick stack. "If there is no problem, I hope to see him within 5 minutes. The bar blinked and tried to accept a stack of constitutional orders. Seeing that Wayne didn't stop him, he quickly put the money in his arms. "Please wait a moment, I promise the boss will appear in front of you within 5 minutes. Veronica blinked and observed the operation of social garbage at close range. She didn't know that Ziffy came here in the same way back then. Diligence can make up for weakness. As long as you have a humble heart and are willing to learn, a dragon-blooded girl can also develop a shrewd mind. Soon, in less than 2 minutes, the round-headed bar owner Franco stood in front of Wayne with a businessman's smile on his face. "What do you call this guest?" "It's not important. I heard that you purchased a philosopher's stone. Can you tell me more about it?" Wayne got straight to the point. "Ah, this." Franco frowned. "Guest, I don't know where you heard the rumor. I am a serious businessman and I don't sell messy goods." "I understand, more money, right? This is not a matter of money. But are you, as a candidate, too skilled?" Franco smiled slightly. "Well, guest, please come back in the evening. There will be a small auction then. Maybe you can find what you want by then." NPC sent out the side quest. Wayne refused to click, raised his hand and grabbed Franco's collar, and pulled him out from behind the bar. Franco, who was as heavy as a fat pig, was very strong and flew into the air easily. He could also scream like a pig being slaughtered, and smashed a table directly when he landed. XN. Several guests who were sleeping soundly opened their eyes, along with Veronica and the bartender, all opened their mouths wide. "Young man, didn't the high priest of the sub-district tell you that everyone is one family? If you want to show off your strength, no problem, come in the evening. I told you there will be an auction in the evening, and dozens of people are waiting for you to fight." Wayne did not play by the rules, swung up the high stool next to him, and attacked Franco, and he was very unrestrained, making Franco scream. "Stop hitting me, stop hitting me, I remember where the philosopher's stone is." "You remembered it so quickly, it must be fake, it's not that easy to fool me." Wayne swung the chair and hit him several times. Franco hugged his legs and begged for mercy. "This time I really remembered it, I won't lie to you, the philosopher's stone is in the bar." "What were you doing before?" Wayne threw down the chair and asked the bartender to bring the things over. He bowed his head and said to Franco, "I have very clear principles and bottom lines. I hate you black magicians and believers of darkness and death the most. I will beat you every time I see you. You have done so many evil things, and meeting me is retribution." As he said this, he said some simple and easy to understand principles, such as eradicating evil, and the goddess guiding justice, which made everyone silent and the bar was filled with solidified air. Did he really not know? XN. It shouldn't be. XN. In Franco's aggrieved tears, the bartender came out with a wooden box in his arms. Veronica took it. Inside was a red crystal gem, the size of a fist, exuding obscure magic. She nodded to Wayne. The stone was exactly the same as the description in the intelligence. "Not bad. I didn't expect that you, a despicable black magician, are quite trustworthy." Wayne squatted down and put his hand into his arms. Franco hurriedly covered his face and found that Wayne did not take out a gun, but handed over a brochure of the Church of Nature. He was stunned. "Lost man, I see the virtue of integrity in you. Although I am afraid of violence and have to keep my promise, I must admit that there is a flash of humanity in your dark soul. Take this book and read it. I hope it can awaken the truth, goodness, and beauty in your heart." Wayne patted Franco on the shoulder and said seriously, Join our Church of Nature, and you can also become a member of the Justice Camp like me. Franco, is there a possibility that I have been a member of the Church of Nature a long time ago? Don't be confused, don't hesitate, the goddess will guide you on the road ahead, which is a road full of light and happiness. Wayne slapped Franco's wound with a slap, and the natural vitality was injected to remove the bruises for him, and then he took out a stack of banknotes and stuffed it into Franco's arms. What is this for? I firmly believe that the light of the goddess can dispel all darkness, even a scum like you can turn over a new leaf and become a good person, and even become a devout disciple with firm faith like me. Wayne spoke earnestly and spread the light of faith. Franco, we will be our own people in the future. Take this money and treat it as my medical expenses to express my apology. I hope that when we meet next time, you will be sitting in the library instead of running a bar. That's all I have to say. Think about it carefully. Have you been hiding in a dark nest all your life, or have you been bathing in the light of the goddess and being a good person uprightly? Wayne patted Franco on the shoulder, left an encouraging look, and left side by side with Veronica. In the car, Wayne checked the Philosopher's Stone. He didn't understand it very well, but it didn't matter. He threw it on the back seat and went straight to the next clue. After the two left, there was a long silence in the bar. Franco got up from the ground after a long while. He put a thick stack of queens in his arms and thought for a moment. This beating was worth it. If Wayne beat him every day, it would not be a problem to get rich. But do you think he knows? He shouldn't know, otherwise he wouldn't be so heavy-handed. Franco's head is bleeding. No, I think he knows, deliberately. His performance is too stiff, especially those lines about the goddess. Although they are all true, but, in short, he didn't play by the routine and got a Philosopher's Stone. Franco, what do you think? I think he gave too much. Franco took a deep breath and raised the church's brochure. I was beaten throughout the whole process and have the most say. He knows nothing and is a candidate with firm beliefs. Not good, the bartender shouted. What's wrong? If he really doesn't know, won't the other two lines also have to be cleared with fists? Ah, this. Why are you still standing there? Hurry up and make a phone call. You can't act like this, otherwise he will collect 3 stones in one day. Everyone was in a hurry. Some made phone calls, some drove and hurriedly informed their colleagues that the situation had changed. In the corner of the bar, a burly man woke up staggeringly. He took off the gentleman's hat covering his face, picked up the stale wine and drank it in one gulp. Interesting. This is the first time I've seen a candidate who cleared the level like this. Is he doing it on purpose, or does he really not care? But I don't hate it. If he becomes the Son of God, the church headquarters must be very lively. Hey, is he really a genius? The man had brown curly hair, sideburns, a rough appearance, and smelled of alcohol. He stood up, picked up the bottle and left the bar. During this period, Franco and others did not communicate with him, as if he did not exist at all. The second clue destination is the neighborhood warehouse. The gang leader Bunyan put down the phone, leaned back on the boss's chair, put his legs on the desk, and asked the busted secretary next to him to light a cigar for him. He puffed away, his smile was particularly disdainful, and the scar on his face twitched. Franco, this loser, handed over the Philosopher's Stone so quickly. He is so cowardly, how can he serve the goddess? He has no spirit of sacrifice at all. If he wants to beat me, let him beat me. How dare he beat you to death in broad daylight with so many people watching? After saying that, there was a burst of laughter. Bunyan bit his cigar, opened the drawer, slapped a pistol on the table, and said to his secretary, "Tell everyone, pay attention. The target is a reckless man with brains. As long as the other side dares to take action, I will allow them to shoot. As long as no one is killed, I will take care of everything. Bunyan, is this really okay? The Busta's secretary said quietly. How to say? The people from the headquarters come once in 20 years, and the high priest is there every day, and the target is Austin Landau's children. Even if the high priest won't do anything to you, Landau will take both black and white, and the unlucky ones will be you, said the secretary. Bunyan's eyelids twitched. This was indeed the truth. The high priest had to go through the process to deal with him, while Austin only had to sneeze to deal with him. Having said that, I, Bunyan, have dedicated my life to the goddess a long time ago. It's just the Landau family. They can't scare me at all. Bunyan loosened the buttons on his collar. Tell everyone, peace is the most important thing in everything, don't use guns, take out those crowbars. By the way, if you open the magic barrier, there will definitely be a sneak attack on Austin's son's heart. The secretary nodded and left. Bunyan bit his cigar and muttered to himself, we can't let them get the Philosopher's Stone easily, at least not here. There are dozens of brothers in the stronghold. Even if they rush in, they can hold it for 3 days. Well, it's not a big problem. Boom. There was a loud noise, and the ceiling fell. If it weren't for Banyang's quick eyesight and quick hands, his whole body would have been buried in the rubble. Are you Bunyan? Wayne stood in the ruins and said to the stunned Bunyan, in the name of the goddess, you social trash should be damned. You have never met me before, and today your retribution has come. Fart, you must know. Know what? Well. You can't tell. Wayne sneered and clenched his fist, smashed the magic barrier in front of him with one punch, and angrily said, okay, you are not only a gangster brother, but also a black magician who commits crimes by burning, killing, looting, and committing all kinds of evil. If you meet me today, your retribution will come. Yes, the goddess will punish you severely for your sins. Bunyan was completely stunned. It was the first time he saw such a shameless person. He raised his voice and said, I have dozens of brothers. They're all being beaten outside. Ah, so fast? It can be faster. As both a silver mage and a silver mage, Bunyan was instantly killed by Wayne when he faced him, and he was pinned to the ground and punched. Bang. 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 Tell me, you evil black magician who steals the belief in nature, where did you hide the Philosopher's Stone? Ha ha ha, kill me if you can. If I tell you today, I will be your son. 5 minutes later, Bunyan was kneeling on the ground and howling. He underestimated Wayne, who pretended to be stupid and dared to beat people to death. Every time he was beaten to death by 8 points, he would be saved by Wayne and return to the level of death by 5 points. We went back and forth several times, and it was hard to say whether others could bear it or not. He couldn't bear it anyway, so he half-voluntarily handed over the Philosopher's Stone, crying and shouting that he wanted to be the adopted son of the Landau family. You. Wayne kicked Bunyan away. He's so ugly and wants to be Austin's god-grandson. Just dream. He slapped the Nature Church's promotional brochure on Bunyan's face and said viciously, the goddess has a good life. Even if you are a social waste like you, the goddess is willing to give you a chance. I will not kill you today, but 3 I will come back, and if you can't memorize this book backwards, I will beat you again. Physics missionary. Bunyan. Is it possible that he has memorized this book by heart? Is there any possibility that this book was printed by the factory he was responsible for? Damn society's trash, I get annoyed just looking at you. Thank the goddess for her mercy, otherwise you would be dead today. Wayne took the Philosopher's Stone and left the office with fierce words. When passing by the warehouse and factory, he ignored the promotional brochures in the room and told Veronica to leave. The two drove straight to the last clue. If you hurry up, you can not only collect 3 Philosopher's Stones in one day, but also catch up with the Landau family's dinner. Is this really good? Veronica was sitting in the passenger seat, looking at the two philosopher's stones, and sighed, "You clearly know that they are one of your own, but you still deal with them so harshly. Doesn't it mean that they wrote the script well? They hid it from both of us. That's the truth, but the assessment also requires your brain. If you don't even notice your own people, your score won't be too high. They know I see it, but they pretend not to, unless they admit that their script is rubbish." Wayne grinned, "It's not my fault anyway. The mission was not completed because of their script. I don't want to blame them. They know what to do. You are so skilled. My father taught me well. I still have a lot to learn from him," Wayne said modestly, and soon he arrived at the third target. Abandoned church. No one, no one. According to the script, there should be NPCs squatting here, who have the clues of the Philosopher's Stone and set up many levels. Only those who are sincere and kind can get clues from the NPC. Obviously, the script was temporarily modified. "Damn, I'm still a step late," Wayne sighed and shook his head. Veronica chuckled, "What did I say? We should have split up from the beginning. Then, we get 3 Philosopher's Stones in one day, breaking the record for the fastest candidate to pass the level. The higher UPS blame us, and all members of the investigation team are punished. We lose face and our jobs." Wayne made Veronica speechless and touched her golden-haired head. "Find a hotel and rest for 3 days. Give the investigation team time to make a new script. Don't be too extreme, especially for geniuses like you and me. It's easy to offend people if you are arrogant. But you have offended someone. How could that be? I will be fooled by useless clues in the next 3 days. It's a bit confusing." Veronica understood a little, but not completely, and said dryly, "Wayne, this is also in your calculation." "There is no calculation, just don't treat others as fools. They treat us as fools. According to empiricism, they think we will cooperate with the performance, so they lost the initiative." Wayne glanced at Veronica and taught, "Veronica, remember, the initiative must always be in your own hands. I have taken the initiative now. The investigation team does not want to be punished, and will beg us to perform next. The score may not be high. After all, they have grievances and have never seen me messing around like this, but the score will not be low. If it is exposed, they will be the only ones who will suffer." What, do you have any questions?" Wayne Landau, "You and your son are so similar, am I picked up?" When did you find out?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 229. January 2nd. The rising sun shines into the house through the window. The black-haired elf sitting cross-legged is bathed in the sun, covered with a layer of hazy light, dazzling and elegant, and the picture is full of mysterious beauty. Wayne is working hard for a small goal. Repeated failures have not dampened his enthusiasm. Instead, he has become more and more courageous and has been trying to communicate with nature. "Hey, I don't believe my temper. The more failures there are, the meaning of persistence in success changes. Obsessive-compulsive disorder is that simple." From last year to now, he has changed many postures and shapes, repeatedly attacking new hypotheses, summarizing the lessons of failure, and eliminating wrong answers. These 2 days, I calmed down to practice and unexpectedly found that the elf form is very compatible with nature. Instantly full of energy, only resting for 3 hours a day, using the time for sleeping to practice hard. There is an effect, but it is still far from expectations. Wayne is sure that there is a necessary connection between elves and nature. The reason why he did not succeed is that his elf form is not perfect and lacks something. Nature, sun, moonlight, The three beliefs of the Life Alliance are all together, the three are balanced and impartial, the formula is applied perfectly, and there should be no defects. It's always a little short. Wayne blamed it on his own low realm. It's too early for the Silver Mage to communicate with nature, and the Gold and Legendary Mage stages should be stable. This speculation is just a hypothesis and cannot be concluded. Take Philomena as an example. Philomena is a guaranteed Gold Mage, half a step to the peak of perfection, and only one step away from the Legendary Mage. She is also an elf, but there is no trace of communication with nature on her body. Wayne knows Philomena's body and mind very well, and he has polished them all. He is proud of it, and he is almost polished by him. He is a senior expert in studying Philomena. He said there is no trace, absolutely no. Philomena proved that Wayne's hypothesis was not valid, but Wayne still had a fluke. People's physiques cannot be generalized. Philomena can't do it, but it doesn't mean he can't do it. When he reaches the Golden Mage stage, he will definitely be able to communicate with nature without obstacles. Now, he can only brush up his proficiency. Bang bang bang. There was a knock on the door. Wayne opened his eyes, dispersed his elf form, stood up and walked through the living room to open the door. "Why are you not wearing clothes?" Veronica frowned and looked at Wayne. He was only wearing a pair of shorts, and his figure was not bad. Another look. After Wayne turned into an elf, his body height increased to 2 meters, so he took off his clothes in advance. He did not explain the real reason, and winked and said, "There are people watching around, we can't be too close, I can only give you benefits in this way." "Bah, who cares?" Veronica snorted coldly, "Hurry up and put on your clothes. It's been 3 days. It's time to find the last Philosopher's Stone." 3 days ago, the two arrived in Wenches. Wayne ignored the arranged script and quickly passed the level to get 2 Philosopher's Stones, which made the investigation team anxious. The actors left, and the editor and director met to rewrite the script. In order to express goodwill and get a good score, Wayne took Veronica around for 3 days, pretending to be deceived by fake clues, which made the investigation team feel relieved. Although this kid is messy, he is not ignorant of the rules. After receiving Wayne's goodwill, the investigation team rearranged the script, still the abandoned church, still the NPCs, and slightly increased the difficulty. Charlotte, the leader of the investigation team, personally took the field and selected 4 Silver Mage members, wearing human skin masks to pretend to be NPCs in the abandoned church, to prevent being beaten without any room to fight back. This is the last stubbornness of the investigation team. The task is not over yet, and the investigation team has already scored. Remove the highest and lowest scores, take the average. Wayne, who is messy but knows the rules, scored 80 points, Veronica, who wants to follow the rules but is led astray, scored 95 points, and picked a few problems that are not problems, and the written report is completed. If the 2 members of the dark group have no problems, the list of 2 candidates for the Windsor division is settled. It's a bit early, but forget it. I'll change my clothes and we'll go downstairs for breakfast and then set off. Wayne glanced at the clock on the wall and said as he changed his clothes, "If we're lucky, we can return to London this afternoon. How about it? It's rare for us to go on a long trip alone, and Willie didn't catch up. Make a date with me before returning." Before we left, my mother warned us that we were candidates and many eyes were watching us. I advise you not to mess around. Veronica tilted her head and handed over the shirt. Seeing Wayne raise his arms and gesture to help him put on his clothes, she just pretended not to see anything. "What does it matter? We are brother and sister. It's normal for brothers and sisters to go shopping and watch movies. It's very abnormal. There are no such brothers and sisters. That's because you haven't seen it." Wayne muttered, his face full of disappointment when the date was rejected. Veronica was also a little disappointed. The two of them had been together day and night these days, but they deliberately kept their distance. She was worried about gains and losses, and always felt that Wayne had fallen in love with someone else and didn't like her anymore. Damn Willie. However, Veronica thought it was Willie's fault and planned to teach her a lesson after returning. Abandoned church at 8 a.m. This church is located in the suburbs. It was originally located in a village. With the transformation of urban industrialization, rural population poured into the city for work, and the church was abandoned along with the village. 800 meters away from the church, there is a newly built cemetery area. A little further away is the former Royal Cemetery in Windsor, which is guarded and well preserved. Wayne drove to the abandoned church and walked in with Veronica. In the corner, several NPCs dressed as homeless people were cooking potatoes in an iron pot. Dark Magician Andrew, you are wanted by the church for repeated thefts and unauthorized disclosure of faith magic. Some time ago, you also stole the Philosopher's Stone in the cemetery. Wayne swayed, and every word was sonorous and powerful. He said it with righteousness. Andrew, you have so many crimes, what else do you want to quibble about? Andrew was speechless. In the original script, several NPCs turned around and ran away. During the Battle of Wits and Courage, after a passionate battle, they left clues to the Philosopher's Stone. Now it is not necessary. The two candidates have proved their strength. Under Veronica's silent gaze, the black magician Andrew took out the stamped certificate from his arms and held the natural church brochure in his hand. You are late. I am now a disciple of the goddess. The Philosopher's Stone has been returned by me and I will never steal it again. So you are one of us. Hello, Mr. Andrew. Nice to meet you. I am Wayne and this is my companion Veronica. Wayne changed his face in a second, regardless of whether Andrew was lying or not, fully interpreting the saying faith makes people firm, religion makes people ignorant. Wayne sat down and talked with Andrew, who pointed out the direction and told the legendary story of the Philosopher's Stone. It was a bunch of nonsense, and the whole script was written by the screenwriter who stayed up late. After removing the water and translating it, Andrew was a tomb robber who spent a lot of effort to get the Philosopher's Stone. The Philosopher's Stone belongs to the Windsor royal family. It is said to have the magic power to bring the dead back to life. It was collected by a member of the royal family and buried as a burial object in the royal cemetery next door. But according to Andrew's investigation, things are not that simple. The royal family members who collected the Philosopher's Stone designed 72 empty tombs. The real Philosopher's Stone is not in the royal cemetery, but under this abandoned church. Wayne. New script, everyone in the world knows Way, and the royal family changed their surname to CAO. Wayne was tactful and did not complain. The investigation team deleted the fighting scenes, which saved him a lot of work. He still had to thank them. Of course, it is not ruled out that the other side was beaten and scared. As a disciple of the goddess of nature, I will definitely help you. Andrew came to the dry well behind the abandoned church and read the lines according to the script. Go through the tunnel, and the end is the Philosopher's Stone, but be careful of the traps and pay attention to the dangers in the shadows. You have been down the tunnel and know how to get the traps. Come down with us. Veronica thought so and looked sideways at Wayne. When she was out, she trusted this external brain more. Andrew, thank you for guarding the Philosopher's Stone here. You are a devout believer. You have been inspired by the light of the goddess and have become a new man. I believe the goddess will forgive the sins you have committed. Wayne still spoke righteously. Fair, just, and fair, and self-consistent. Veronica was convinced by his nonsense. Before going down the well, Andrew sponsored a flashlight. Wayne jumped into the well first, blew a whistle, and signaled that it was safe for Veronica to follow. The two of them shuttled through the tunnel one after the other, encountering four-element magic traps, as well as hallucinogenic and parasitic spores, all of which were easily resolved by them. It took 10 minutes for the two to reach the end of the tunnel, where a stone wall blocked their way. Wayne saw a line of words on the wall: up is down, all is one. Common words in alchemy. This level tests your knowledge reserves. If I guess correctly, there is a mechanism nearby. Wayne analyzed it and stepped aside to let Veronica, you solve the problem. Veronica nodded, raised her fist and hit the stone wall. With one punch, the wall exploded with a crack and broke in half with a click. Wayne blinked and patted Veronica's head with relief. You have a good mind and know what you are good at. I have a good mind. Give me time and I can solve the mystery, but this is faster. Veronica argued in a low voice. No problem, I'm not sarcastic. I'm really praising you. Play to your strengths and avoid your weaknesses to seize the initiative. Veronica, you have grown up. Wayne covered his eyes, turned around and leaned against the wall, his shoulders twitching. He was so happy to see his child grow up. Veronica punched Wayne with a dark face, kicked the stone door in front of her and came to a circular underground tomb. The tomb was spacious, and the elemental torches were always burning, illuminating the various complex and obscure magic arrays on the wall. Wayne was stunned and admitted that the director team had put in a lot of effort. Such a complex drawing arrangement might require overtime for 3 consecutive days and nights. In the center of the tomb, the sarcophagus was opened, and the knight armor lay quietly inside, with his hands crossed on his chest, tightly holding the blood crystal gem. The last philosopher's stone. Wayne smelled a little bit of alcohol in the air, and heard a heartbeat from the knight armor, knowing that there was also an actor inside. Wayne reached out to take the philosopher's stone, and suddenly, something strange happened. The knight armor came to life, turned over and jumped out of the sarcophagus and hit the wall. The magic array was activated, and it disappeared into the portal. Son of the beach, you are still adding drama when it's all closed. Wayne cursed, and seeing that it was a one-time transmission channel, the halo was dim and about to go out, he hurriedly pulled Veronica and hit the wall. The scenery in front of the two people changed drastically. They were standing in a desolate and dilapidated cemetery, surrounded by weeds and many dead bones scattered on the ground. You run really fast, like a rat. Wayne sniffed the alcohol in the air, walked quickly forward through the tombstones, stopped in the middle of the cemetery, and said to the ground, "Come out, tomb robber, it's more decent to come out now, otherwise I can only help you to be decent." As he spoke, he did not give the other party time to react, and the green magic power was introduced into the ground. The roots of trees and grass grew rapidly, turning into a large number of vine tentacles that rolled towards the knight's armor underground. As Wayne raised it with one hand, the soil bulged, the mud fell, and the vines wrapped around the knight's armor rose from the ground. Seeing that the knight's armor was captured alive, the change occurred again. The armor bloomed with green fluorescence, and the tightly wrapped vines drooped softly, growing backwards into the soil. The knight's armor regained its freedom, turned over in the air, and stood lightly on the tombstone. He weighed the philosopher's stone in his hand. 2 candidates, the assessment process went too smoothly. I suspect you cheated and slightly increased the difficulty. Do you have any objections? What assessment? What are you talking about? I don't understand. Wayne loudly rebuked the other party for talking nonsense, leaving an afterimage on the spot, and his fist broke through the air and went straight to the face of the knight's armor. So fast. Gavin, who was hidden in the knight's armor, was the investigator of the dark group. The magic power burst out under his feet and he flew into the air like teleportation. He controlled the magic power very accurately, and he wasted it as if nothing happened. His posture was elegant as if he was really flying. Unlike Wayne, who relied on his huge magic power and played a powerful brick flying, wasting as much as he could. Young man, you want to get it from me? Gavin stopped talking halfway and crossed his hands in front of his chest. Wayne's punch missed and did not hit the target. Veronica followed and jumped into the air on Wayne's shoulders. Combo skills. Veronica's arm was covered with fine white scales, and the tip of her fist penetrated the air, like a drop of water falling into a calm lake, with ripples spreading around, and in an instant, a surging wind was blasted. The air seemed to be a quiet cold pond swept by the wind, and the ripples spread out instantly. A powerful brick-flying combination. This time Gavin did not dodge, and folded his hands in front of his chest, ready to test the quality of the dragon blood. To be ashamed, as the deputy leader of the Knights of Nature, he personally went to the scene and was somewhat bullying the weak, but Wayne's operation forced him to come. The 10-man investigation team lost the face of the headquarters, and they worked for 3 days without making any small moves. What's the difference between this and surrendering, isn't it shabby? Boom. Veronica's fist fell, smashing the finger-linked gauntlet on Gavin's arm, and the thin iron blade burst out like a blade, rubbing Veronica's facial skin, cutting a series of sparks. What kind of power is this? As expected of dragon blood, it is only at the Silver Cross stage, but the essence of life is so strong, how can it be gold or legendary? Gavin flew backwards, sighing in mid-air. He had seen Veronica's file, and only had dragon blood, not a god-favored one, which was a pity for her. If Veronica was a god-favored one like her mother, she would definitely win this selection. Fortunately, there is no big problem. God-favored ones are not born. Veronica can become a saint, so it is natural that she will become a goddess's favored one. Dragon blood and god-favored one, magic and martial arts are all round without shortcomings. Gavin gave Veronica a full score and looked forward to her performance in the future. On the other side, Veronica stepped on the air, bursting out magic power continuously, catching up with Gavin in mid-air, and the front of her fist exploded the air. The terrifying force oppressed Gavin and he could not keep his balance. Without using faith magic, Gavin could not fight against dragon blood, and he himself did not care much. He used his agile skills to dissipate the force and deal with Veronica. Fighting and retreating, not seeking victory, only estimating the score. Wayne watched from afar, wondering if this actor was too powerful and a big name, and the director team had limited funds and could not invite such a big name. No need to think, this is the investigator of the dark team. Finally appeared. Seeing Gavin and Veronica sparring, Wayne followed them calmly, picked up the fallen philosopher's stone on the way, and announced that the mission was completely completed. Collected 3 philosopher's stones in 4 days, and finished 11 days ahead of schedule. So, where is Flora, and where is the beauty trap? If he doesn't knock on the door in stockings at night, he will go back to London. Boom. With a loud bang, the air thunder exploded, the mist expanded and spread, and the storm danced wildly. Gavin was violently blown away, and his body fell to the ground like a skipping stone. During several bounces, he smashed the big trees along the way. Veronica fell into the mud, and her feet were bound by the resilient vines. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't get rid of it. These vines are extremely strange. Not only can they absorb her magic power, but they can also interfere with the operation of magic power, repeatedly interrupting her thinking, making it impossible for her to cast elemental magic freely and freely. Wayne. Veronica called the name of the summoned beast, asking it to stop watching the show and come to help quickly. Wayne came to Veronica's side, put his 5 fingers together, cut the vines with a wind blade, pressed Veronica's shoulders and said, "Your turn is over, now it's my turn." As he said, he put the philosopher's stone in Veronica's hand, took off his black suit, and unbuttoned his cuffs and collar. As he stepped, his body rose. After 3 steps, a perfect elf with a height of 2 meters appeared in Veronica's eyes. Veronica took a breath of cold air. "What a beautiful elf, I want to." "Ah," she said, "what a strange transformation, when can social garbage become an elf? It shouldn't be." Like Philomena, Veronica fell into doubts about life, with a bit of fear, suspecting that Wayne's bloodline had degenerated. The appearance of the original ancient god cannot be said to be ugly, but it is not a human at all. Veronica spent a long time to convince herself and reluctantly accepted Wayne's setting. This life is not impossible. Turning around, Wayne fell and became an elf. It's a good thing, but what's the use of being beautiful? Veronica hates him for not fighting. She would rather live with tentacles than want Wayne's current elf appearance. What a terrible talent, this child has mastered the magic. Gavin exclaimed again and again, looking at the perfect elf in front of him, and gave a full score backhand. While marveling at Wayne's talent, he felt sorry for him. It is impossible for the church to have a son of God. It's not impossible, but it has long been a habit. The Son of God is too advanced. The headquarters can't accept it, and the believers can't accept it even more. He pushed open his visor to reveal his true face, with a beard and sleepy eyes. He took out a wine flask from behind his buttocks, gulped down a mouthful, and whispered to himself, "It's better if you can't become a saint, you can join the Knights of Nature." What kind of things are the younger generations now? They only grow in body but not in brain. Mr. Investigator, it's my turn now. Are you just going to watch? Don't you want to fight? Seeing Gavin lazily leaning against a tree and drinking, looking decadent, Wayne couldn't help but frown. What a sloppy investigator. In addition, can you continue? It's uncomfortable to pretend halfway. No, I've already scored. You two are very good, both of you are top-notch in strength and talent. You didn't cheat, and you are enough to become candidates. Gavin waved his hand, raised the wine flask, and the wine flowed down his beard. He himself didn't know it, and looked at Wayne intently. Young man, do you want to become a knight of nature? Ah. Restarting the myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 230. Gavin was halfway through his words when he threw out the bait and waited for Wayne to take the bait. The effect was average. Wayne blinked and shook his head, saying, "No, I know what kind of talent I have. I am not qualified to be a chosen knight." Veronica nodded secretly. It's good that the social trash knows what's going on. Veronica is not bragging. She dares to bet her youth. The probability of Wayne becoming a chosen knight is less than 1 in a million, no, 1 in 10 million. As long as the goddess is not blind, it won't be Wayne's turn even if all the people on the chosen continent die. Will the goddess be blind? Absolutely impossible. If the goddess can be blind, she can be too. She will let bygones be bygones in the future. She will pretend not to see Wayne and Willie having an affair. It's so funny. Social trash and the chosen knight are linked together. It's more outrageous than Bayu Egwang and social trash rolling in bed. Le.jpg. Veronica took care of Wayne's face. She only laughed in her heart, but didn't show anything on her face. She quickly came to the elf and took a closer look. Just one look. I couldn't bear to blink even when my eyes were dry. So beautiful. Young man, don't underestimate your talent. At your age, you have surpassed 99% of your peers. Gavin praised her generously, and then said, "Be prepared, your path to becoming a holy son will not be smooth sailing. The church has never had a precedent of a holy son. I personally don't think you can succeed. So don't struggle, I'll give you a letter of recommendation, come to work for the Natural Knights. What's the point of being a holy son? A real man should be a knight." Seeing Gavin's tone of a big boss, Wayne subconsciously said, "Excuse me, your name, are you from the church headquarters?" Gavin Felloy, deputy head of the Natural Knights of the church headquarters. X2. Really a big boss, in terms of level, he is already higher than the district high priest. Wayne never expected that an ordinary saint candidate assessment could blow up a big fish at the level of deputy head. As far as he knows, the leader of the natural knights at the headquarters is an honorary position, which has always been held by the chosen knights. When the chosen knights do not take care of things, the deputy leader is the leader. Is the style of the leader so sloppy? Wayne glanced at Gavin, who was drunk, unkempt with a beard, and tattered armor. He didn't look like a leader at all. Wait a minute, all the members of the natural knights are gold mages, and the deputy leader should be a legendary mage. Is it really okay to enter Windsor openly? Wayne knows a word that just describes Gavin's entry: smuggling. You people who engage in faith, say one thing in front of you and another behind your back, sign an agreement but don't abide by it, come and go as you please. What do you think of the Windsor Federation, a bus? Where is the Queen, the bus driver? He complained in his heart and saluted respectfully. So it's the captain, I'm sorry. It's the deputy captain. Okay, captain. Gavin scratched his head and saw the shadow of the church's high-level officials in Wayne, all so shameless. Because of preconceived ideas, he first saw Wayne's talent, and the young man looked good, especially after he turned into an elf. His handsome appearance even made him avoid him, so although his favorability declined, it was still full marks. Young man, I'll stop here. Think about it carefully. If you fail in the selection of the Holy Son, don't be too disappointed. You can come to me. Our natural knights are in need of talents like you. Gavin said, in my assessment, you two have passed the test. I look forward to your performance in the future. He glanced at Veronica, a very good candidate for the Holy Maiden. If the material is good, it should be stable. Gavin is casual and informal. He shook the empty wine pot, said goodbye, and left directly. Snap! Wayne raised his hand and high-fived Veronica, and went west for 800 meters to find the abandoned church. Andrew didn't know that Gavin had sneaked into the crew, and was surprised to see the two coming out of the church. Oh, nothing, I met another investigator, who called himself Gavin Felloy, the deputy leader of the Knights of the headquarters, and gave Veronica and me full marks. Wayne looked innocent. The deputy leader of the church headquarters should be of a very high level, right? Andrew didn't say anything, and silently raised the scores of the two candidates, both 100, all full marks. At this point, Wayne didn't act anymore, took out the two philosopher's stones in the car, and submitted the task on the spot. Andrew vaguely passed it over, saying that he didn't understand what Wayne was talking about, muttering that the stones were not important, just as souvenirs, and left with several NPC companions. It's over. Wayne looked at Veronica, asking with his eyes if she was willing to date him in wenches. Humph. Got a back of the head. Okay, let's go back to London. We have plenty of time when we get home. Landau Manor. Wayne finished the task ahead of time and informed Austin and SPHY that a big man had come to the headquarters of the Church of Nature. A strong man at the level of a leader, with the style of a middle-aged useless uncle, he looked very powerful. Austin was not interested, so he asked Wayne not to make it public and not to change his size in the near future. SPHY was overjoyed. When she learned that her student had been invited and was very likely to become a candidate for the chosen Knight of God, she jumped with her student in her arms. Work hard. I haven't seen the chosen Knight of God yet. This task is for you. Sci-fi patted Wayne on the shoulder, and the more he looked at it, the happier he became. As expected of me, the look in his eyes doesn't matter, he is the chosen knight just by picking him up. Is there a possibility that you have picked two in a row? There were so many flaws that Wayne didn't know where to start. For the sake of this family, he chose to bury the secret in his heart. After dinner, Wayne did not harass Veronica. Dragon blood was too arrogant, so he left her alone for 2 days, and then launched a fierce attack when she was depressed, and the progress could be a big step forward. It's kissing every time, so it's time to unlock a few positions. Returning to Wayne House, Wayne asked Furla to prepare a candlelight dinner and picked up the phone to call Chris. Don't rush to inform Philomena now, she's too clingy and acts like a little girl. I'll give her a surprise in a few days. Hey, Wayne, why are you back? Willie came to the living room and asked curiously, where is your mission? Is it over? It's over. Wayne put down the phone calmly. I was just about to call you, but I didn't expect you to be at home. By coincidence, Furla has prepared dinner. It's just the two of us tonight. Is it just a coincidence? Willie sat at the dining table, looking at the candlelight, flower petals, and romantic French dishes, her little heart racing faster than expected. It was just her and Wayne at home tonight. There was no senior sister to make up for classes, and there was no Veronica to cause trouble. The heart beats faster. However, nothing happened. Vi used combo attacks on the girl, but they were all connected by Wayne's Tai Chi. After the dinner was over, when Willie was wondering whether her senior sister had already obtained the first blood, Wayne sent out an invitation. He had recently designed several new outfits and was short of a female model. Willie nodded happily and followed Wayne into the bedroom with a bound. Click. The door was locked, and Willie had closed it. Well, this evening dress is backless, you put it on backwards. Don't make trouble, these are garters, not sleeves. You have to button your underwear from the front first. You don't even know that. There's really nothing I can do about you, let me help you put it on. The model is not very smart, so the costume designer has no choice but to provide personal guidance for the sake of progress. After some operations, I found that Willie was looking at the baby with a fierce look, fearing that the delivery would be slow, but in fact, she was a coward. When she really should use her strength, she would just close her eyes like Veronica. The next afternoon, Wayne received a call from Heepy, who had a serious tone and asked him to rush to the divisional headquarters as quickly as possible. Flora takes action. If you don't take action, it's fine. Once you take action, you'll be the king. Divisional headquarters, conference room. Wayne and Veronica arrived at the same time and saw a serious-looking Ziffy and a handsome man in the conference room. This is Knight Reyna, a natural knight from the church headquarters. He took a few photos. Xife looked helplessly at her students and daughter, asking you to restrain yourself and don't kiss me in the near future. Why are you disobedient? It's okay now. The evidence has been photographed. Rena arrived suddenly and unexpectedly, not giving Ziffy time to react. He carried a briefcase in his arms and made his purpose clear, indicating that he wanted to confront him face to face. He had evidence of the candidate's impurity, with photographs to prove it. Rena didn't say which candidate it was. Xife had something in her mind and misunderstood that the student and her daughter were photographed. Photo. Wayne suddenly wondered where the photo door came from. Recently, he couldn't get out of the door without taking 2 steps. When he saw Philomena, he also went into the sewer the whole time. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be photos. Veronica is even less likely, as he acted like an older brother during the mission. A serious brother, not the kind who registers as an orthopedic surgeon. Knight Rena, the 2 candidates have arrived. It's time to show your evidence. What should come will always come, and Ziffy was mentally prepared. High Priest, please wait a moment, I need a witness. Rena adhered to the Knight's code and spoke in a fair and impartial manner. This made Xife very unhappy, and she said angrily, let me guess who the witness is. Is it Flora Evelina, the former Holy Lady and the current Windsor Division priest? High Priest, although Your Excellency Flora has resigned, she has served the church for many years and worked hard to promote the glory of the goddess. Please do not call her by her full name. Rena's face turned red from the rebuke. Despite his dog-licking attributes, as a knight, he was quite qualified. For example, the shame was revealed by Xife on the spot, and she felt ashamed. If this problem doesn't change, I will never be able to see Flora's thighs in this life. It looks like it is. Come on, bring Priest Flora here, Sci-fi yelled at the door, and the assistant trotted away. Reyna calmed down and said solemnly, High Priest, please don't misunderstand me. Your Excellency, Flora is not aware of the evidence I have. The reason why I invited her to testify is because I have no one I trust in London. It's okay if you don't explain it, but you won't be able to do it if you explain it. You boy must have seen the saint's thighs. Wayne rolled his eyes. Knight Rena, I met another investigator in Winches yesterday. He is also from the headquarters of the Natural Knights. To be fair, his image is much better than yours. Which knight is it? Gavin Fellows. He turned out to be the deputy captain. Rena was shocked and wondered why the deputy commander arrived in London in person and whether he had other secret missions. Then he thought about it. If it was a casual deputy commander, it seemed reasonable. The investigator was very satisfied with Veronica and I and gave us full marks, Wayne said quietly. Young man, your leader has spoken. Be wise and destroy the photos quickly. Also, if you open your mouth to be the deputy leader, your future is limited. Rena's breath was stagnant. After a moment, he shook his head. The deputy captain is tolerant and not bound by trivial matters. He is willing to give you full marks. It must be because of your talent. I am different. I pay more attention to details. You are more principled. You made a mistake, and I don't recognize you as a qualified first-choice person. Veronica tilted her head. She was more curious about the photos in the document bag than the power and sex deal. Apparently, the social waste was photographed cuddling with other little girls. If she guessed correctly, it was Willie. Those who seduce others, Humph, I'll peel off your skin when I get back. Soon, Priest Flora walked into the conference room. Wayne saw Flora in person for the first time, no, for the second time, and she had to admit, she was a beauty. No wonder Rena couldn't bear it. Flora was not only a great beauty, but also had the aura of a saint. If he saw the former saint's thigh, he would most likely touch it. However, if you look closely, that's all. There is nothing to say about Flora's figure, appearance, and temperament, especially her temperament and elegant charm. It is far from what little girls like Veronica and Willie can compare with. But compared with Philomena, Flora has all aspects. Not as good as. From the perspective of LSP, the hexagonal warrior met the hexagonal warrior. Philomena completely surrounded Flora, who had no chance of winning at all. From the perspective of a EP student, Wayne remembered this face, slightly squinting his eyes to hide his murderous intent. High Priest, are you looking for me? Flora bowed and saluted, looking at Rena from the corner of his eye. His heart suddenly thumped. Rena didn't tell him that he was going to visit today, which caught EP off guard and Flora. Priest Flora, this is Knight Rena. You should know him. You may have met him recently. Sci-fi sneered. Knight Rena has evidence of the candidate's impurity and wants to confront me face to face. He cannot trust my character and has specially invited you to be a third-party notary. Flora felt her scalp tingle when she heard this. If this was a surprise from Rena, she said that she was licking the dog carefully and was not surprised. High Priest, you misunderstood. Knight Rena and I met at the church headquarters. Although we met recently, it was because of the relationship between friends and we did not do anything unnecessary. Flora smiled bitterly. She paid great attention to her own image. But Verena told him in advance that she would not let the other party mess around. If word spread that Rena's actions were all directed by her, wouldn't her character collapse? The matter has reached this point and cannot be undone. Flora can only hope that Rena's evidence is powerful enough to pull down a candidate. High Priest, Your Excellency, Flora is here as a witness. This is the photo I took. Please watch it together. Rena was very satisfied. He prepared a gift for the goddess and rushed to deliver it to the goddess before the investigation team finally confirmed the score. In hand. In this way, the goddess's student can replace Wayne. He successfully completes the task and once again protects the saint as a knight. Rena doesn't have high requirements, just watch the goddess's back silently. He held up the folder with both hands. Sci-fi glanced at Flora, saw her looking sideways, and secretly cursed Baichi. You've obviously seen it before, and you're still pretending to be innocent. Sci-fi snorted and took the folder, slowly pulling out the photos inside, lamenting in her heart that it was so unlucky that both the student and her daughter were disqualified at the same time. What's even more unlucky is that Flora won one of the places and won twice. Veronica took a step forward and accidentally stepped on Wayne hard. She wanted to see if Willie had kissed a social trash. Several people looked at the photo with different expressions, including expectation, anger, helplessness, and curiosity. In the photo, Wayne and the artistic girl Odelia are sitting side by side in the library. Because of the good angle, the two are cuddling together in several photos, not to mention how close they are. Odelia smiled brightly, and Wayne seemed to be talking about something with his brows dancing. No matter how you looked at it, it was the girl looking at her lover, listening to the sweet words with affection. There is nothing wrong with couples. So, who is this, X2? He and Veronica's eyes widened. The former didn't see their daughter, and the latter didn't see Willie. They stared at Wayne with four eyes, asking him to give an explanation. Wayne swallowed secretly, but he could fool anyone like Willie or Chris, even Philomena. Unexpectedly, the investigators had already arrived and took photos of him and Odelia. Wait, this photo is nothing. Candidate Wayne, as an investigator, I suspect that your body is not pure. Do you have anything to say? Reiner cast a judgmental gaze, his voice was loud and his waist was straight, as if he was a judge questioning the defendant. He glanced at Flora out of the corner of his eye, hoping to get the goddess's rewarding smile. However, it didn't happen. Flora lowered her head and stared at the photo, with a look of confusion on her face. I want to say too much. These photos seem to be nothing. I was reading with a female friend in the library. There was something wrong with the shooting angle, so there was a misunderstanding. Wayne explained dryly, gradually understanding Austin's difficulties, and being stared at by two dragon bloods at the same time was extremely stressful. He added, the girl in the photo and I are book friends. She likes to read and I like to read, that's all. What's her name? Veronica stepped hard on Wayne's foot. It was because there were so many people, otherwise she would have ridden on him. Odelia. Wayne admitted his mistake in a low voice, she is a believer of the Church of Nature. I met her in the library. She has few friends, so she often asks me to read books. She asked you to go. Veronica raised her voice, tell me, what is your relationship with her, and how far has it developed? Veronica's sister, which side are you on? Didn't you see the teacher winking at me desperately? Oh, the teacher is also glaring at me, so it's okay. It's unfair, it really doesn't matter, just ordinary friends. Wayne secretly had a headache, and once again understood Austin's difficulties. He wanted to quibble, but Veronica and Sci-fi didn't give him a chance at all, and both stood on Flora's side. What should I do? I believe the explanation of candidate Wayne. He and Odelia are just ordinary friends, not lovers. Knight Reyna deliberately took misleading photos, which caused unnecessary trouble to Wayne and Odelia's reputation, Flora said. The scene was silent, all in disbelief. Flora, are you crazy? Sci-fi blurted out, clenched her fist and coughed lightly, Priest Flora, what did you just say? Knight Reyna, the evidence is too heavy to frame. As a third-party witness, please allow me to refute these evidences. Flora looked at Reyna dimly, her eyes full of coldness. Reyna's face turned pale, and she hurriedly said, Sir Flora, take a look again, I was at the scene and saw them with my own eyes. Enough, Knight Reyna must have seen it wrong, I firmly believe in the character of candidate Wayne, he is pure. X3. Siffy, Flora is really crazy. Veronica, what did you see with your own eyes, tell me quickly, it's really annoying. Wayne, my teammates are standing on the opposite side, and the opposite side is standing on my side. What do you mean by this bitch? Are you trying to improve my favorability? There was Philomena in front and Flora in the back. Are the ants now so caring? The atmosphere fell into silence again. Flora's face was terribly cold, and Reyna was trembling, like a child who had done something wrong and did not dare to face the majesty of the teacher. The key is that the child did not know what he had done wrong. Come here. Sci-fi took the initiative to break the silence and shouted to the outside of the door, check the list of believers in the London division. Is there anyone named? What's her name? Ottilia, Veronica replied viciously. That's the name. Transfer her file immediately. No need, High Priest, I am very familiar with this believer, and the London division does not have her detailed information. Flora felt that she was going to lose, and looked at Reyna with cold eyes. Her full name is Ottilia Ferdinand, and she is my student. X4. Yes, it's a bit messy, I'll sort it out first. X4.